And hello. Welcome to the Absolute Football Podcast. It is tonight absolutely non-league show in collaboration, of course, our wonderful friends at NL Full-Time, talking everything National League North and National League South. Lots and lots to cover. I'm very, very excited. And it's not just me here tonight, which is very exciting, because if it was just me, this would be a pretty terrible show. But I have a fantastic cast with me, and we have another person coming as well very shortly, which is exciting. But first, the man who's below me with a cap the other way round to me, but still we are just one team. It's the main man, Mr. Ben. How are you doing, bud?
I'm okay. I've just realised now that you put the football shirts on one side and the non-football shirts on the other, so it's worked out quite well. But yeah, as I probably always say, when we lose for football aside, the weekend was okay. So we'll just ignore the fact that we've got done by playoff rivals and we're now 8 points off or whatever it is. So, but still a long way to go. But yeah, how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. We are with the shirts. It's almost like the shirts and the skins that used to play in the park, isn't it? I don't know if Joe and Morgan are going to go that way, but I think we're definitely the shirts tonight. That's for sure. But yes, it's not just myself and Ben. It's the wonderful Joe who's with us as well. Joe, how you doing, mate? You okay?
Yeah, not doing bad, Sam. Obviously, Morgan and I didn't get the memo about the white caps, but yeah, good to be back on. Watched a bit of EFL on the weekend at Cheltenham, so nice to be back talking about non-league.
Absolutely, and we're thoroughly looking forward to it. Plenty to cover, that is for sure, tonight. And as well, brilliant Morgan is returning as well. Morgan, how are you? How are things?
Yeah, very good, thank you. It's nice to be sat in the warm on a Monday night talking about the football rather than being outside with how cold it's been recently.
It's been a tad chilly. The joys of January. But what is definitely joyful is wonderful people joining us in the chat as well. We've got the Super Graham is with us tonight. Good evening to you, Graham. We've got Festus in the chat. Evening to you. Spenny fan Chris, good evening to you. Afternoon, of course. He's still over the other side of the world. Steve, good evening to you. And yeah, cold and icy Charlotte, North Carolina past couple of days. And there you go. It's cold everywhere. It's cold everywhere, wherever you look. But Ben, are you ready to kick things off? Have a bit of chat. I think we're going to kick off with a bit of National League North to begin with, I think.
Yeah, we are. I think we touched it quite well last week with having Dickie on, to be honest, which was really good insight for maybe some of us that haven't got maybe the biggest knowledge of National League North in comparison to him. But Joe, I'll start off with you. Any standout results for you over the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously not the biggest of scorelines in terms of goals, but I think Oxford City against AFC Fylde, big win for them. Perhaps unexpected given the form of both teams. Obviously, AFC Fylde going for a promotion, so they'll be disappointed with that one. Debut for Johnny Maxted, I see, in goal for Oxford City. Obviously on loan from Brackley, getting a clean sheet on debut as well. So, yeah, Oxford City are slowly plugging away. Another goal for Ewan Clark, who obviously formerly a Bath, a terrific little player. Always a safe bet for a bit of quality. And, yeah, big win for them. I mean, I said on the NL Full-Time pod a couple of weeks ago that if Oxford City are going to stay up, they've got to win games at home. And perhaps they wouldn't have put that down as a game that they were going to win, but certainly more performances like that at home, and they're going to stand a right good chance of staying up.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be right. It's quite key, the fact that, albeit they've played quite a number of games more than the teams below them, but at the same time, you'd rather have the points on the board, and it does start to put a little bit of pressure on the teams around them. And to be fair, with Peterborough Sports picking up a big win over the weekend against Chester, they really needed that result, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. And, the benefit that they've got is that they've got a manager, Ross Jenkins, who they've had success with before. So there is that belief, although the results haven't been there this season. I think, they've done well under him before, and he knows how to do well at this level, albeit having done it in the National League South. So, yeah, I mean, they haven't got the biggest of budgets. They've got to try and add smartly. And obviously, it seems as if they've managed to utilise that loan market really well and getting in a decent goalkeeper in Johnny Maxted, who, as we'll come on to speak about Bedford, obviously with their goalkeeping troubles, finding a good goalkeeper can make a real difference.
Yeah, that's like they might be the last line of defence, but my God, they do make a huge difference, and particularly with someone who I know you're talking about. But yeah, we'll definitely come on to that in a short while. Morgan, any standouts for you from over the weekend?
Yeah, I want to stay near the top of the table just with that Kidderminster Scarborough game, which on the surface looks pretty kind of straightforward. It's two teams in the playoffs, 4th v 8th now, with where they currently are. But I just wanted to touch on that because this starts a run of 5 away games in a row for Kidderminster, and I don't think I've ever seen a team have that many away games in a row. I know we struggled at York started the season with a few away games, but 5 in a row through January and February seems a little bit crazy. There is a cup game in there as well, away at Halifax, which will be a decent test for them if they're trying to get up into the National League. How do they do against a team in the National League who are always in around the playoffs? Like Halifax are no pushovers for any National League team. So how can Kidderminster do away in the Cup against them? And some of the rest of it isn't their fault. They've got away games tomorrow against Bedford, next Tuesday against Macclesfield. It seems to be a couple of postponed games due to the weather and whatnot. And they've got 5 away games in a row, which is rare to say the least.
Yeah, I've got to just mention that game against Halifax as well. You wouldn't put a bet on against them to not have that game on with their pitch in this situation.
Yeah.
Which seems to be a recurring issue over the years. And the last thing they want is to go there on a Tuesday night as well. But again, they've got a couple of games in there amongst Macclesfield and Bedford as well. So it is going to be a huge test for them, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, they've always been a playoff team for the last few years. And I think they started quite slowly this year, if I'm remembering correctly. Started slowly and then they've picked it up. And now they've sat kind of where you'd expect them to. When we did preseason predictions, if you'd said Kidderminster 4th, no one really would have scoffed at that. And so they're kind of in around where you'd expect. And then they've got this run of, 4 more games after the Scarborough one. And how can they do? Because if they follow up a 2-0 win away at Scarborough with 2-0 wins away at Macclesfield, Bedford and Spennymoor, then you can't rule them out of promotion at all, even if it is through the playoffs. Losing to Halifax, you can take that almost as a week off, because if you lose to a team in the top 10, really, of the National League, you can't shrug at that. They're a very good team. But I don't want to say it's make or break, but if they really do kick on over these next few away games, then it's quite a big statement to make, because they should have a run of home games later on in the season. If they can put two or three home wins together in a row, then yeah, they're always going to be big playoff contenders. So they just need to do well over these next few games, and they'll be in a really good place. And
ultimately, I think that what's let them down a little bit is the amount of draws that they've had, because losses wise is not too bad. I mean, they've lost 5 of the 27 games they've played so far, so it's not exactly disastrous, considering they never seem to have been at the top all season, really, in terms of a title charge. But the fact that that they are 13 points off South Shields, but with a game in hand, so they can close that down. So, like I said, I think if they can get a good couple of wins, at least from these next sort of 5 games, in away from home, it might stand them in good stead. And I think, to be honest, it brings a great opportunity to bring our third guest into the show, Sam, and to get her views on it. Who are we bringing in?
Who could it possibly be? It's definitely a she, as Ben's alluded to. And it is the wonderful Shah.
Hello, everyone.
How
is everyone?
Very well, Shah. How are you?
Good. I'm really good, thank you. Really good. I'm excited to talk some football.
I bet you are. So the National League's been left until last, just for your information. So
thank you.
You'll get to hold it in, and we get to talk about a great win for the day. But we were just alluding to with the guys here. Obviously, it's on National North. Any standouts for you over the weekend, Shah?
I made the mistake last time of copying what someone else has said. So what games have we actually spoke about first?
So far we've mentioned Kidderminster's win against Scarborough and Oxford City's win against Fylde. So any of that too, unless you want to pick any of those ones still?
Do you know what? I'm actually going to go, because obviously we had a really good insight last week from Dickie when he came on about Telford. And I feel like Telford 2, Kings Lynn 1 was one of my standouts, because it was 3 wins this year out of 3 games for Telford. They are doing very, very well, aren't they? Yeah. This new year. Very impressive run as well. And they are building real momentum. And I think, apart from, I know we've mentioned them the odd couple of times on here, and it was really nice to see Dickie speak a bit more insight about them last week, but they're not really a team that we speak about that often, are we, on this podcast necessarily? And honestly, I think they're doing very, very well, especially so far at the moment. They did control, obviously, large spells of the game against Kings Lynn. But I did want to mention as well, with Kings Lynn, they're not on a good run, are they, at the minute? They seem to be struggling quite a bit, which I'm quite shocked about, to be honest, because I thought they were quite a consistent team, Kings Lynn. So it's a real shocker for me. But yeah, very, very good from Telford. And I know they got 2 goals in the space of 5 minutes as well, which is obviously very good for them. And yeah, just wanted to give them a shout out. And I'm glad no one spoke about that because they actually have notes about them for my research.
We would have made you do it anyway, Charles, regardless,
Thank
because I
you.
know you're always picking on something that we haven't said yet. But I think I'm sort of glad you've mentioned Telford, actually, because I think, again, as Dickie was saying, they were sort of probably happy to try and stay in the division, really, having got back into this level. And it's like a big transition. There's so many big clubs with huge amounts of money that, are really pushing for it. And look, they're only, 2 points off the playoffs at the moment, and they've still got, a game in hand over some of those teams in the top 7. So, again, if they can maintain this form, there's no reason why they can't be, maybe one of the surprise packages. But there's so many other clubs, like I say, you still got Macclesfield, obviously, with a huge amount of games in hand, and Scarborough as well, always hanging around there. Marine as well, they're obviously level on points with Telford. So it's certainly heating up a little bit more because there's not exactly that gap. I mean, when you look at the National League, there's such a big gap between sort of 7th and the teams below them. But when you look at the National North, it's so much more open, isn't it?
Definitely. Could I mention as well Leamington?
Of course.
Because obviously I've come on here and even before obviously everything was happening and I took that break and I'm always like, Leamington are struggling. But Leamington got a 2-1 win against obviously Curzon Ashton. And I don't know if anybody's seen the clips on Twitter as well, but the goalkeeper played a blinder. Like some of the saves he was making, there was one clip I saw in particular, and I think he made like 2 or 3 saves, like in one space of time, and that was obviously absolutely brilliant because Leamington are still bottom, which is obviously sad to say, but a very, very good win, obviously, for them. So, yeah, I just wanted to obviously shout them out because I feel really bad because I used to all the time come in and be like, they're not really doing very well. And I know that they're still struggling, but we have to cheer them on when they do get a win. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there was probably a good time for them to play Curzon Ashton as well. Obviously, having been really wounded last week with that heavy defeat to Telford. And they've hit obviously a bit of a bad patch. I think that's 3 defeats now on the trot for them. I mean, they're still sort of comfortably mid-table. But, for a side that, at one point we're looking at, the top 7, it's just seemed to have slipped off a little bit for them. I mean, I think they get a lot of stick for the type of crowds that they get as well, which, again, probably doesn't help their cause. But the trouble is they have so many big clubs around that area. It's so hard to sustain, getting a proper fan base to come week in, week out. And then how we sort of seeing the view of Curzon Ashton at the moment? 'Cause it's been a tough time for them the last few weeks, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, with Curzon Ashton, I think it's always difficult because the last couple of seasons they have overachieved, and I think that's perhaps inflated what people expect from them. That's no disrespect that they certainly deserve to be where they were in the last couple of seasons, albeit they were perhaps ahead of where they thought they could be. They've lost a couple of key players to the Football League, Isaac Sinclair and Devon Matthews, 2 that stand out. They've both gone to Accrington. So they've lost key players and they've not really replaced them with players of similar quality. So I kind of expected them to be in and around that top half. But in terms of that quality to get into the top 7, I think they are just falling short. And that's probably been evident the last couple of weeks. So obviously with the fact that the window's still open beyond January, I think that they'll be looking to try and get a couple of additions through the door because they're always in and around that top 7. They're just falling a little bit short at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations where I think you've got to use the loan market really well. I mean, because that's like getting players on permanent contracts at this time of the season when clubs will be reluctant to let players go because obviously they need cover, especially with the huge backlog of games we've got coming up. From the weather, so it's going to make a huge difference for them. I bet they do. I think you're right. I think they do need a few extra bodies because in this league you're going to struggle.
And obviously, they've lost their manager as well, Craig Mahon, obviously going to FC Fylde. He did a brilliant job with them. And yes, Mark Bradshaw was there with Craig Mahon, so obviously knows the club and the majority of the team. But to lose so many key components of a team that's got into the top 7 or just been on the fringes of that, it's always going to take a little while to bounce back.
Yeah, definitely. Morgan, a big result though I think we probably haven't touched on, which I was quite surprised actually because I thought it'd be one of the real standouts. Radcliffe 1, Buxton 5. Who saw that one come in?
Yeah, I don't think anyone could. I mean, both teams are known for scoring goals. I know Buxton were one of the highest scorers in the league last year, and obviously we know that Radcliffe like to score goals. We know that Bernard and John like to play attacking football with their teams. If you'd said there were going to be 6 goals in that game, I think a 3-3 or a 4-2 wouldn't have been too weird. A 5-1 away win, I don't think was on anyone's cards, especially with how that game played out. Radcliffe taking the lead, 1-1 at half time, and then an insane second half for Buxton, hitting 4 in the second half to run away with it. At 1-1, you're thinking the close game might go either way, but a bit of insane second half for two teams that are going up for or going near the playoffs. 5th v 7th, you don't expect a 5-1 win for two playoff teams. You'd expect it somewhere closer to the Kidderminster Scarborough game, which is 4th v 8th rather than 5th v 7th. It's always a bit of a standout result, and I think that's why we kind of love non-league. You get some weird ones like the Curzon 8-0 that we saw just a couple of weeks ago. You always get a weird, or there's always the chance for a weird result, and I think there's just more variables. And when we say how good non-league is and why it's better than the Premier League and everything, there's just more goals and more fun, and it's just one of those things that can happen between two Premier League teams, not Premier League teams, playoff teams.
5 different scorers as well, wasn't it, for obviously Buxton? Which I thought, wow, that's crazy, isn't it?
I'd rather be like that than one-man show, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I must say I've been quite impressed with Buxton, the way that they've improved throughout the season. I think they were one of the teams that I picked to finish in the top 7 at the start, albeit they didn't start all that well, a little bit off the pace. But the last couple of weeks has really, shown some positive signs. The fact that they've gone to Radcliffe and put 5 past, a team that I also expect to finish in the top 7 and a good team as well. Is certainly heading in the right direction. They're only 3 points off 5th now with that win. They obviously would have been 6 behind Radcliffe if they'd have lost that game. So, they're heading in the right direction. They're now in the top 7. They're quietly showing the Buxton that I think probably most people expected we might see come, the start of the season.
Yeah, and I think it does show that, it does take a little bit of time to adapt to full-time training, which is obviously what they've gone to now this year. And you're trying to get used to your surroundings, trying to get used to maybe the programs that the coaches have set. And now, it does, like say, take just a bit of time to adjust, especially maybe with new players coming in that, maybe didn't want to go full-time or have only just gone full-time for the first time. So it's a lot to take in. It's not just such an easy transition, is it? But like you say, I think they will get better as the season's gone on, and they probably are where maybe they expected to be at this season, if they've been totally honest. Because like I say, with the teams above them, with the budget, some of the budgets they've got, you can't really knock it, to be fair. Another, I think as well, good victory as well, Macclesfield. I know we talk about them quite a lot, but again, putting that, putting the FA Cup, sort of to the side for the minute, which can so easily, go the wrong way. But John Rooney's kept them all focused. And again, they're still, with a good 2 or 3 games in hand, they're well within, a shot of the playoffs at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was more encouraging and timely, that win. The fact that obviously the striker Danny Elliott, who's been massive for them, he was one of the key players in the league below last year, one that has played much higher as well. He didn't actually play against Crystal Palace, picked up an injury, and I believe in the warm-up. And before that game against Worksop, he actually confirmed that he's been ruled out for the rest of the season. So they needed somebody to, step up to score the goals, and a player that Shah knows well in Damani Mella, who obviously was, I believe, their top scorer, or one of their top scorers last year, with 2 goals. So, yeah, I think for Macclesfield, obviously they're having a decent season. Obviously the cup form's been good. The league's been a little bit sort of in between. I think that's fair to say. So now I think the focus will be, obviously they're out of the FA Trophy, losing to Woking. They can just concentrate on the league now. And they've made a couple of really good signings recently. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if they push towards that top 7.
I mean, just talk to us about Mella, Shah, because obviously you would have seen him play it now. What sort of does he offer to, what sort of qualities does he offer to Macclesfield, would you say?
I really liked Damani Mella. I know he was obviously on the books at Manchester United when he was younger. We didn't have him for that long, to be honest. But while he was there, we saw he didn't score many goals for Rochdale at the time, but you saw glimpses of him, like him going forward. He's very skillful as well. And he's a little bit of a handful, to be honest, but you can tell that he has come from like that Premier League, like academy status, because you can see like how much he's so technically gifted, Damani Mella. And obviously at the time, we weren't doing, was it when we were in National League or was it when we were in League Two? I can't remember. I think it was our first season in National League, to be honest, when we had him. So we obviously didn't have like the biggest and greatest of squads at that time because we were struggling off the pitch. But what we saw of him, you could tell there was a player in there. And then obviously nothing really came from it with Damani Mella, and he's gone to Macclesfield. But from me seeing him, I always saw that he had massive potential, to be fair, and I'm really, really glad that he's found his level at the moment. He's obviously found some comfort at Macclesfield because I think he just needed that stability, to be honest, and now he has that stability. And I feel like with Damani Mella, he is a massive confidence player as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think, and also when you're with the side that's part-time at the moment, when you probably haven't got your mind on football every single day, really, it could maybe it helps him slightly. I mean, I always do find, sometimes that part-time teams like just have got that freedom because, like I said, they don't get as much time to do, the training with like I say, that the full-time teams have, and they've got to fit, almost cram everything into almost 2 sessions, and sometimes that can help because, like, you're not overthinking situations, and maybe that's what's helping for Mella to go to a part-time side like Macclesfield. But then again, they're playing with such confidence at the moment on such a high, you can't see anything stopping for them really, as long as John really keeps their feet on the ground. I've seen a couple of comments actually in the chat and from Alid and Chris and I think it was it was Alid actually, about Petersburg Sports 3-0 over Chester. Jacques Coulhurst hat-trick or Shag or whoever you want to call it.
Oh, that was funny. That was so funny. That made my day, honestly. Do you know when you're just having one of them days and you need something at that point to cheer you up? And that when Sam sent it in the group chat, that cheered me right up. And that's how immature and petty my brain actually is and works, because it really did make me laugh. And I'm glad all of you found it funny as well, and it weren't just me.
Honestly, it's just it's my worst fear. Obviously, I mean, thankfully, in all the time, touch wood, I've been doing the Twitter for mates, so I haven't had a situation where I've ended up swearing accidentally or coming up with very, particular choice words on that occasion. So fair play to the admin for recognising it and living up to it. But like I said, with Jacques Coulhurst, again, like I said, I've known from obviously his time at the club, Maidstone last year. Again, a bit like Mella, confidence player. Doesn't always create loads of chances for himself, but he did make a knack at time of being in the right place at the right time. And 3 goals for him against the good Chester side, that's definitely going to really help them. It's the boost they needed, particularly with some of the bottom sides winning as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think they needed to win that. They, no disrespect to Chester, but the form that they're in, I think they probably would have looked at that and thought, yeah, we can probably get a win today. Target that as one of the games that they can get 3 points. Another one of those teams that if they are going to stay up, they need to have a good home form. Obviously, got a good centre forward in Jacques Coulhurst and signed Sean Jeffers as well before the game from Bedford. So they've certainly got some firepower there. As for Chester, that weirdly we always seem to be on the podcast and talking about Chester, underperforming or a poor result, and yet they're not far away from the top 7. They're only a couple of points off it. They'll be hoping that they can sort out their defensive problems, because they do have defensive problems which are pretty un-Chester-like in recent seasons. I see they've gone out today and signed a new goalkeeper, Bobby Jones, on loan from Boston, who was brilliant in the National League North for Curzon Ashton 2 seasons ago, after another mistake from their young goalkeeper, George, that was playing on the weekend. So, yeah, they're in a good position, and they've just got to start putting a couple of wins together, because they're certainly in touch and distance of that top 7.
Yeah, definitely. But I think, like I've just seen Matt's comment as well, that Chester fans actually still unhappy with Callum McIntyre at the moment, despite obviously being so close. Let's say he might be one of those that might be one bad result away from the sack. It's a hard one because there is such a big expectation at Chester, isn't there? Because when you look at the infrastructure of the club, I know it's it's a different model now to what it was, probably even 5-6 years ago, really. Obviously, since the fan ownership's taken across, and they are a little bit stuck at the moment at this level, and I think we always say that that fans ownership can only take you so far in the pyramid, and maybe it just feels like they need a little bit of a booster at Chester. But even then, like you say, they're not a million miles away from the top 7. You get two wins and you're almost at fifth place, hypothetically. So it's quite surprising to hear that, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the recruitment's always key. I think I was the sort of surprised that when we did our predictions before the season, I actually had Chester missing out on the playoffs because I didn't think their recruitment was that good. Has to be said. Obviously, they've lost a couple of key players from their side that have been key to that defensive form. Obviously, losing Harrison Burke to Walsall and Will Stanway to Barrow, 2 players that have done really well since. So, yeah, obviously they have got a month or so to get in a couple of faces, and I think they have still got the basis of a decent side. Their aim will be get in the top 7 and use their experience of being in those playoffs to hopefully get over the line. As for Callum McIntyre, I think he's still a good manager. I agree with you, Ben. I think potentially a little bit harsh, I suppose, because Chester have always been in that top 7. You kind of expect it, but that's one thing I always say is these leagues are tough. I mean, the reason why these teams are at this level is because they aren't that much better than everyone else. It's a really close league, and Chester are there or thereabouts. And yeah, if they can just pick up a little bit, they'll be fine for that top 7. If they can add a couple of players, I think.
Yeah. Just had a comment as well from Inside the Sidelines. Thank you for joining us tonight. Nice win for Southport. I think I'm very much almost put that to the bottom because it's right at the bottom of the list. I didn't even think of that. Southport 1, Merthyr 0. I mean, against Southport, been down the bottom pretty much all season, but to win against a side that's 3rd in the league and have been scoring a lot of goals this year, to keep them out, that's no easy feat at all. I mean, Morgan, what result for Southport?
Yeah, no, it's a massive result, and they are starting to turn it around. I know for a lot of the season we've been talking about, Southport are really struggling. That's 3 wins in the last 4 in all competitions. They beat Eastleigh in the FA Trophy not too long ago, and they've dragged themselves to 5 points above the drop now. So after being quite poor for a lot of the season, they've gone several weeks at times without a league win and stuff like that. 3 wins in the last 4. A bit of a goal fest against Bedford on the 17th. Only lost by 1 away to a very good South Shields team midweek, and then following up with a clean sheet at home to a good Merthyr team. I don't know what's happened. I don't know where this turnaround's come from, but they've dragged themselves into a position where you're now looking at them saying it's not been a good season, but they're likely to stay in this league if they just keep this form up, just take it 1 game at a time. They've got filed away in the FA Trophy on the 31st. If they can lose to that in not too embarrassing fashion, lose that by a goal, get rid of that competition, then from the end of January onwards, you've got February, March and April, focus on the league and do as well as you can and aim to finish about 17th, flush that season and just move on. They've started to pull away, and it's good that they are getting these results because I feel like Southport are one of the bigger clubs in this league. I think they, former football league, when you look at some of the clubs and some of the crowds and stuff like that, Southport don't feel like a 17th in National League North team. But yeah, just keep up this form, keep it moving, and they should be able to be okay.
Again,
I think you've got to give. I think you've got to give a lot of credit to Southport. Obviously, they brought in Neil Dans in the summer, and I think given the start that they've had, it would have been very easy for them to sack him and say that it was the wrong decision to appoint him. But they made that decision in the first place, and they've stuck by him. They've allowed him to go out and make a couple of really smart signings. And yes, I think they probably expected it would have been a bit of a slow start, given that he was finding his feet in management and they'd lost a couple of players in the summer. But they seem to be picking up form at the right time. So, you look at some of the teams around it at the bottom, the likes of, obviously Alfreton, that have made a change. And Southport haven't done that. They've stuck by him and it seems to be paying dividends. So you've got to give credit to Southport.
Definitely. I've just seen another one as well, I think it was. Obviously, we mentioned it a little bit earlier. I know Sean's put a comment in. Bedford Town, recording back, and Borewood recording back Nathan Ashmore. And like I say, Joe, you were talking about how much of a big blow, it can be to lose a goalkeeper at this time of the season, particularly, with the experience that Nathan Ashmore provides. It feels like it's bad timing almost for them a little bit, considering they were starting to really start to grab some results together. And again, like I say, their aim is to stay in the division, but is that a really big blow for them?
Yeah, I mean, obviously losing a goalkeeper, a Nathan Ashmore's quality, you're always going to be ruining that. And given that he by all accounts had a really productive loan spell there, or rather 2 loan spells there, obviously it is a big loss. Obviously, Boreham would feel that they need to bring him back after their recent dip in fortunes. I would imagine that he'll now get picked as the number 1. The fact that they've brought him back, I wouldn't have seen any reason for them to do so if he wasn't going to be. And yeah, I mean, one thing that I would say is that Lee Bircham's a really good manager. He does get through a lot of players, but he has a real good eye for quality players. So he'll no doubt have a couple of targets already for that goalkeeping spot, and he'll no doubt bring in a good goalkeeper to replace Nathan Ashmore. But yeah, it is a big loss.
Yeah, I mean, Charles, what are you sort of thinking? Because obviously, from if you're talking about the fact that Ball would have brought back Nathan Ashmore, and obviously with a title charge still in the cards and that, I mean, is it a difficult one really for Bedford? Maybe to accept. Maybe just say this time of season. I know it's Bournemouth's player, but when you've been such good form and everything like that, it can really damage you. And that's the thing, because now whoever they bring in, you're probably not going to get the same qualities what you get with Nathan Ashmore.
100%, and I obviously know because everyone knows the Rochdale situation with goalkeepers and being called halfway through the season. It is not good, especially when like your defenders build that bond and that partnership with them as well, because it's not just obviously you've got your goalkeeper there and you put in your trust in your goalkeeper week in, week out, but then you've obviously got your defenders who build that partnership with him as well, and it's like all new again, isn't it? Which is obviously frustrating from that point of view. And like I said, I know firsthand, we've seen with Louis Molden, we've seen with Sam Waller. It's just a constant. And you think, oh, nice one. We've got a little bit of stability here. We're getting a keeper who we're used to, obviously playing minutes and stuff. And I think one of the hardest positions as well, to be honest, is the goalkeeping spot when you are constantly chopping and changing goalkeepers and stuff, because like with a centre forward and things, don't get me wrong, it can be difficult, but you've got someone there, and it's obviously, I just feel like with a goalkeeper, it's a really, really hard spot to kind of fill with that. But Boreham Wood, I'll get on to Boreham Wood later. I really, really will, honestly. But yeah, it's not good, and I just think you're always putting your season at risk that little bit, and it's always up in the air when you do lose a goalkeeper. And I know that first and foremost with our situations. Ben, bringing that question to me. Like I'm triggered now.
I'm going to just fish you in, I thought early on.
Making me hungry.
No, it wouldn't be a podcast show if I didn't trigger you, to be honest. So
true. That's just the norm, isn't it?
Just a couple of results we haven't actually touched on. Chorley 1, Darlington 2. I did see Tony's comment. It's the first time that Darlington have beaten Chorley since 1989. Wow. So only 9 years before my time. So this idea was well worth the wait for them. Again, it keeps them in that playoff pack. And also Marine 2, South Shields 2. I think it was a late goal that denied Marine 3 points. Obviously, Bobby Grant, the Shaft, big obviously with the Dale. But again, Marine, it's not to say, but it would have come on the back of, I think it was a result, was it Radcliffe the other night for them? So, it's certainly not a bad point against the league leaders as well, and that's it to concede 98th minute. It must have been so gut-wrenching. I
don't know if anyone's noticed as well, but there was a lot of late goals in this National League North, throughout the whole of the fixture list. Very, very exciting. I will hold my hands up at first. Everybody knows how much I loved Bobby Grant. He was one of my favourite Rochdale players ever, Bobby Grant. But when I saw that obviously he was given the managerial role, I wasn't really sure what to expect, because I thought, has he got that experience? I know you've obviously got to start from somewhere, But thought, has he got that experience? Does he need that little bit more time? But I think he's doing a fantastic job at the moment for Marine. I'm absolutely gutted, obviously, that the Bobby Grant derby didn't happen in the FA Trophy, as much as it's good in our respect. It's good in our respect because we've got too many games, but part of me just really wanted that Bobby Grant derby and just to see him at Dale again. But I just think he's doing a fantastic job. And as you said, I know South Shields were leading. We've spoke about South Shields many a time, haven't we? And obviously the backing and the finances they do have, the recruitment that they have, obviously, this season. And they are doing very, very well. Obviously, Fylde dropped points. Merthyr dropped points as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
They did take the lead, sorry. It was Finch in the 26th minute, but then obviously in the 51st minute, it was Adam Anson. I'm pronouncing my H's now, but I don't need to. Adam Anson. He obviously scored the equaliser, and then a very, very late, what everybody would probably have thought was the winner in 90+2 for Marine. But then obviously in 90+8, I want to know what those limbs was like from South Shields, because there was obviously going to be limbs in the Marine end, wasn't there, with that, what they thought was the winner. And then in 90+8, that happening, it's a very good before this. I think Marine fans probably would have thought a point I would take, but I think from a Marine point of view as well, now being so close, it probably would have felt like a loss, even though they did get that 1 point. It's just how so late on it is, but it just shows quality from South Shields as well, and both teams at the top, those title contenders and the best teams do get those late goals, don't they?
Yeah. Can I just have as well, we have a shout out to all the neighbours nearby Marine's ground for supplying back 45 balls over the last couple of days, which I saw in their Twitter a couple of days ago. So I know they won't be short of training balls again, that's for sure. But if I was up to us, I would have been selling it through on eBay, to be honest with you. If I got on my hands on any of them. I was trying to look to see as well if there was any FA Cup balls maybe they've kept for a few years from when they reach the third round, but none that I can see. So, yeah, no, big shout out to them. I think that pretty much covers, to be honest, National League North, to be honest. I mean, we've pretty much covered every game, actually. So, Sam, put us over to the league table, if you may.
Can indeed.
So, obviously, with that late goal for South Shields, that does keep them, well, it's going to keep them top anyway, but it gives them an extra point advantage. They're now sitting top on 63 points. Just below them are AFC Fylde with 57 points. In third are still Merthyr with 56. Fourth place are Kidderminster Harriers with 50 points. Radcliffe's in fifth on 43 points. Darlington in sixth with 42 points. And Buxton sitting the last playoff spot with 40 points. And in the bottom four, we have Peterborough Sports on 25 points. 22nd are still Hereford with 22 points, but still a huge amount of games in hand to play with another postponement at the weekend. Alfrington sitting 23rd with 22 points, and Leamington sitting bottom of the league with 17 points. Just got to look at that Hereford, by the way. It really has just knocked me down. They've still got half a season to play in 3 months. It's going to be Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday at this rate, isn't it, guys? Unbelievable. Sam, put us over to the, I think it's the National League South, is it next?
That it is South time.
It is indeed. Well, Joe, before I come on to you, obviously with another big win for Torquay at the weekend. Morgan, any standouts for you from over the weekend, the National South?
Yeah, I'm actually going to start at the bottom of the table. Farnborough 2, Eastbourne 1. Obviously, Tommy Widrington went to Eastbourne. We thought, what kind of might that look like? But Farnborough get the big win there and stay outside the relegation zone while Eastbourne still in 23rd. That win takes Farnborough, they're now 3 points clear of the drop. Eastbourne is 7 points from safety now. I think there was a late goal in there as well. Let me just double check. Yeah, 91st minute winner for Farnborough as well away. 1-0 down after 17 minutes, 2 goals in the last 20, including that 91st minute winner. And Farnborough are one of the smaller teams in that league. When you look at Torquay and Dagenham and some of the other big clubs that we've seen higher up in the pyramid, Farnborough aren't one of them. So they're doing well to kind of tread water and continue fighting in a relegation scrap that's likely to go to the last day of the season, considering we know what the National League South is like. Nothing's ever easy in that league. So, yeah, Farnborough have got a really, really big win. And if it comes to the end of the season and they have stayed up, you look at those wins against teams around you as the reason you stay up. Their season isn't determined on how they do against Worthing or Hornchurch or someone like that. Their season is determined on how they do against the teams around them. And a big away win against another team scrapping, it could come in massive at the end of the season.
I know it's a damaging result as well for Respawn. Like, you know, I keep thinking with every new signing they keep bringing, I'm thinking, all right, now they're going to start turning around. Obviously, they brought in Golden Mateo recently. They signed Adam May the other day, who I know has played National League before. And it's almost like, you know, all they got to do to start picking up some results, because they're now 7 points off now. They really are in such a tough situation at the moment where I'm genuinely believing they're going to go down. But it just seems like everything they're trying just isn't working.
No, 100%. Like Golden Mateo, as you said, had a great season at Kings Lynn, or a great time at Kings Lynn in National League North. Adam May, I think, was he in League One with Cheltenham? He's definitely played in National League Forest Green. He's definitely played Football League, so I'm sure he's one of those signings Forest Green made. And it was like, oh, they've signed him and Circum and some of these other players. Didn't quite work at Forest Green, but to move to the bottom end of the bottom four of National League South is a big signing for them. And it's just not really clicked. They got in a manager that's won the FA Trophy and had managed high level, players that have been in the Football League and succeeded at the 6th tier in the past. As you said, like, how many signings do they have to make before it finally clicks? It might be a Boston type great escape, like we saw in the National League last year, of by January they're struggling, but by the end of April they're safe, and it always looked obvious. So it might just come late in the season, but it's got to start clicking soon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about Simon Leslie's pocket at the moment, because the amount of money that's going down the drain at this rate, because if they do go down, that's going to cost them a lot of money. And they were talking about, I mean, if you've watched the Eastbourne documentary they did from last year, they thought it was going to take them probably another couple of million to get them out of this league. And you think, well, what's it going to cost them for going down? So they really are in a very sticky situation where this could really knock them. And also, could it be the final straw for Simon Leslie, because he's desperate to get him into the National League, if not in towards the Football League? So, I mean, Joe, you'll probably seen the progress as well from what they've gone from last year to this year. I mean, how do you explain what's gone on there this year? It's just astonishing, really.
Yeah, well, rather tongue-in-cheek, because he said it would take a couple of million to get him out of the league, and he looks like he's going to do it. So, yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Obviously, Simon Leslie put a piece up after the weekend saying that he's had to increase the budget well beyond what he would have wanted to, and what he, thought he would have to, and that it's unfortunately taken a real hit on his pocket. The fact that they're losing most weeks, the attendances are down, and yeah, I mean, if I was, Tommy Whittington, I wouldn't be signing any more players now. They've brought in players. There comes a time as a manager when you've got to realise, this is the group I've got, and I'm going to try and coach this team out of, trouble and get them safe. I think the more, yes, you want to try and bring in players to improve the team and give yourself some more options. But there comes a time where you have to just say, look, let's stop bringing in so many more players, and stop that revolving door, and let's just have a settled team, make us hard to beat, and let's try and get results. Because Farnborough, they've moved a couple of players on, but they haven't gone and added a great deal. They've kind of just tried to keep a settled team as much as they can, and obviously gone there and come from behind to get a win. So, yeah, I mean, we've still got a long way to go, and they're not miles from safety, are they? So, they're still got a good chance of getting out, but they've got quality in their squad, but unfortunately that's not enough to get you wins. And no team's good enough. No team's not good enough to go down. So, yeah, certainly a tough one.
Yeah, it is. I think, I would be saying that even if they were near the top. I think, it can work both ways. Like, you can only buy so many players, and you've got to stick with what you got, because you're thinking about 20 games to go. They've still got, so many players have still got to gel together. You can't keep chopping and changing throughout the season. I've seen so many teams do it. I mean, obviously, one of the clubs, obviously local to me, Welling United, obviously were, National League South last year. They're playing, obviously, Ishbin Prem now. I think they've used about 70 players already. I'm not even joking. I think it is about 70, and they're still in the bottom four. And it's like, you've got to get to a point where you go, look, we've got to go with this now, because the amount of money it's probably costing them as well. Like you say, if they're having to increase the budget, it just shows that like it just doesn't work. You've got to let the team settle. And if Tommy Widgeon wants to prove himself, he can get him out of more situations. One, he's obviously done it with Aldershot a few times, but this is a whole new challenge, and now that's putting a lot more pressure on him now to deliver. So huge second half of the season for them, really. Char, any standouts for you from National South?
I was going to go for the Tonbridge game, but I know we do have a match report in the chat, so I'm going to actually... It's all right. I'll let we'll go on that one after him. I'm going to go for Bath versus Worthing, obviously 3-2. Seemed like quite an end-to-end contest. I know Bath did take the lead very early on. I think it was a penalty as well in the 6th minute, if I have that right. And then he did go 2-0 up as well. We have been speaking about Worthing, and it made me laugh, to be honest, because I feel like with Worthing, we spoke about them a lot for not necessarily for wrong reasons, but they weren't doing too well at the start of the season. And obviously we had Leon, didn't we? And since Lee's left, I feel like Worthing have been on the up. So maybe he was the jinx after all, he's watching. But yeah, Bath obviously went 2-0 up at half time. And then in the 71st minute, Worthing did get a goal, went 2-1, but then Bath went 3-1 up. They did get a consolation goal, Worthing, to make it 3-2, but it did sound like a very, very exciting game, to be honest. Worthing are second in the league. I know Hornchurch are above them. Just the 2 points, though. But I think it was a very, very good win for Bath. They're obviously 19th in the table, but yeah, it looked like a really exciting game.
Yeah, and also the problem is they're leaking a lot of goals at the moment for a side that we're keeping a lot of clean sheets, and like I said, scoring goals are fun. Like, Adam Hinchell is probably doing basically what York City are doing at the moment, as obviously Morgan will well know. But I think it's damaging for them in terms of, the title race, because Hornchurch have now gone back top of the league with a game in hand as well, so they can extend that to 5 points. It really, I was actually at a point where about 3 weeks ago, I was like, I'm convinced Worthing are going to win the league now really comfortably. There just seems to be no stopping them. And maybe that's probably why, they maybe slipped off, because everyone's now expecting to win every single week. But as we've seen the National South, particularly obviously last year's title race, it doesn't work like that. Peak teams will take points off each other, and that is a big win as well for Bath as well towards the bottom, because they're a team that have always struggled to score goals in the last 2 or 3 years, and scoring 3 against the team that was top of the league before that game is certainly a testament to the work Darren Way's done there.
Yeah, I mean, when I watched them a couple of weeks ago, I didn't think Bath offered a great deal, I have to be honest. Albeit I thought that the one player that did look really lively, certainly their best player against Torquay, was Matt Bowman that used to be at Larkhall. He obviously got a goal, and they didn't have Will Jenkins-Davis in that game either. And obviously he scored 2 in that game. So, yeah, it's a surprise win, but certainly a much-needed one. Obviously, they've just been dealt the news that Harry Pell, really experienced midfielder, has had to retire due to injury. So he's only been there a couple of weeks. Yeah, I mean, Morgan, obviously you've seen Adol Hinshelwood's teams at York. There's always that question mark for me defensively. Obviously, they shipped 5 at Salisbury, another 3 at Bath. For as good as they are going forward, I think when you've got a team that concedes as often as they do, it's very, very difficult. You notice that the goals have dried up for Brad Dollahan of late. That pressure on his shoulders, knowing that he's probably got to score 2 or 3 goals most games to actually get them a win.
Yeah, I was about to say to Ben, if they don't get promoted this year, is there a point we actually have to have a conversation about Adam Hinshelwood and what his ceiling is? Because at Worthing, in years past, he's got them to the playoffs and they haven't gone up. Then with York last year, we were top at Christmas, and I don't say capitulated in the second half, but we were definitely poor, losing away at Braintree, lost away at Barnet. We dropped stupid points in the second half of last season. We lost the league by 6 points. Then now they've lost 3-2 to Worthing. They're no longer top of the league. And people say goals win games, but defence wins championships. I think Adam Hinshelwood is one of the biggest examples you can find of that, because he can win games on a week-by-week basis, 23 games in or whatever. You can say, or you can point to a game in November, they've won 5-0, for example. It's like, they're looking great. Are they going to do it? Brad Dollahan's hit a hat-trick, for example. These looking really good. But when it comes to crunch time in the second half of the season, and you look at how teams win leagues, you stop the other team scoring. You know when to bite down on your gum shield, for example, as a boxing analogy. You bite down and say, we are going to grit this out and we're not going to concede there. We're going to take a 1-0 rather than getting into a firefight and possibly losing 2-1. I think there is a possible case to be had that Adam Hinchwood doesn't know, which is weird as a centre-back, but he doesn't know when a team has to just grit it out and you've got to win a game, because it can really, really kick you in the teeth when you realise that you've conceded, I don't know, 10 more than a team in a title race with you, and you've not gone up because of it, because you've conceded too many goals in stupid games when these leagues are too competitive to do that.
Yeah.
Can you repeat that in National League segment as
Absolutely.
well, Morgan?
Absolutely, Shaf. Because I still think you win at league, but we'll get on to that.
That I was like, oh yeah,
I know you were.
Morgan.
I know you will. I'll get on to that.
That's actually a good point actually from the other side as well, because I think, you look at the fact that you get towards the end of the season, like I say about crunch time, other teams are still chasing points that they desperately need, so they're going to be more attackingly threat. And obviously with the way that Worthing play, they're always so expansive going forward. They obviously love to play it from the back. Like I said, I think it does get to a point where you think, hang on, we've got to adapt this slightly. I mean, it's good, beating teams 3-4-0 looking pretty, but when you get to the end of the season and, the final table shows, no one's going to say how pretty the football was. They're going to show who was the winners and who was the losers. And, and as good as Hinchwood's done a good job, Worthing of the time, and even when getting out of the, the Isthmian League into, National League South and on the brink of National League football, he's never done it quite at this level. Like I say, he's won a lot of games. Don't get me wrong, he's done excellent at that. But like I say, when it's hit the crucial moments, he's, I don't want to use the word bottled it, but it's like he's letting past him by, and it's like it's just it shouldn't be happening for someone the club of their stature with the players they've got as well and the good football they play. So he is going to have to adapt it at some point, because otherwise it could be a difficult end to the season for them. But
yeah, I mean the one thing I would say with Adam Hinchwood is I do think he's a really good coach. And I think they are a really well coached team, Worthing. They one of the best passing teams that I've seen at this level. Certainly the first half against Torquay this season at Playmore, they blew us away with the quality of their passing. They just need to find that balance. I thought they had it at the start of the season with Chris Agata. I thought that they were picking those moments when to go long and when to get it on the floor and play. And they have got quality, and they will be in and around it, and they won't be far off winning the title. It's just if they want to win the league, given how close it will be, they can't afford to have games like Salisbury and Bath where they're conceding as they have done. So it's just about making those tweaks to make them a little bit more difficult to beat.
Yeah, I'd add on the Chippenham game actually onto that as well, being 2-0 down, and having to scrape a 96-minute equaliser to get a point against the side that's sitting bottom of the league. So I think they've let some silly points slide, as Morgan's saying. It sounds like exactly the same what happened with York last year. So they've got to find a way of just killing teams off, and like I say, just showing up at the back. So it's going to be interesting second half of the season to see if Hinchwood does adapt to his game. But let's say, Joe, obviously a great win for the Goals on the road after a very feisty encounter at Playmore last week. Obviously, I know you probably weren't at the game, were you? But it's a great win on the road for you, isn't it? Against a tough side as well.
It is. Obviously, I didn't know what to make going to Enfield. I thought we'd have a tough game. I certainly didn't think it'd be easy. Enfield are down near the bottom of the league, but Gav McPherson's a good manager. He's got a way of creating teams that make it very awkward for the opposition. They're always in games and they're not losing games by that many goals. It's always, goal here and there. So I knew it'd be a tough game. Luckily, managed to come from behind. Kieran Wilson scoring the winning goal. Delighted for him because signed on loan from Exeter. He's not really had many opportunities to play for us, given the former Louis Dennis and Jordan Young. And obviously after their dismissals last week against Maidstone, neither of them were in the squad on Saturday. And Kieran Wilson came in, took his chance. Bowler Cants played really well, hit the post and played really well. So, with Cody Cook, our usual penalty taker, off the field as well, he actually won the penalty and had the confidence to step up and take it. So, yeah, delighted for him. And I wouldn't say it's a big win. It's a hard-fought win because Enfield are They always make it tough. Not the easiest of pitches, by all accounts. And yeah, to come from behind at halftime, 1-0 down, it's a real show of quality. And for me now, Kieran Wilson takes his he keeps his spot. You know, we've got two really good players coming back in, but you want that competition, don't you? Dylan Morgan, another goal for him. And that's what you want as a manager, really, if you're Paul Watton. Obviously, Callum Dolan was playing on the left wing at the start of the season. He's then picked up an injury, and Dylan Morgan's come in, scored against Hampton. He's scored against Enfield as well. So you want your players that are sort of on the fringes or on the bench to come on and make an impact. And we've got two players that have done that. So, yeah, good win.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, I listened to Paul Wootton's pre-match interview as well, and it is a simple thing of saying, well, look, those two players, are suspended. This gives a chance to have other bits to do, and I think that is what will please Paul Wootton the most. The fact that they've missed two big players, like saying Dennis and Young, who create so many chances and do again amongst the goals. The fact they can go to a side like Enfield, like I say, again, away from home, like you say, the pitch isn't great there. They're a hard side to beat at home as well. I think that's what got them, to safety last year, and it just shows there's more types of ways of winning games of football for Torquay. And, again, ultimately, it's kept them within that mark as well. The fact they're only 2 points off the top. I know Hornchurch still got a game in hand, but it's still very much in their control, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say in our control, but certainly we've got yeah, I know what you mean. Win the chasing pack. I'd have certainly snapped your hand off if you'd have offered me to be in this position before the start of the season. We have got Hornchurch coming up in a couple of weeks, which is going to be a bit of a belter. And yeah, it was a good win. When you go away and win from coming behind, it doesn't matter whether you're playing Hornchurch or Enfield. To do it late on, it's a good victory. And yeah, that's what you want. We now got Farnborough on Tuesday night. And those are the sorts of games, really, that if you want to win the league, then you need to be winning. When we played them away earlier in the season, that's probably one of our best performances, bar the thrashing of Eastbourne. So, yeah, hopefully we can back it up. Obviously, we didn't feel like we got I wouldn't say what we deserved. That's not probably right. I think we probably could have got more against Maidstone. If we'd have perhaps managed it better, I think that's fair to say. So, to get a win and give us a little bit of confidence going into Tuesday is really pleasing.
Yeah, and I wish I could say we did exactly the same thing. We managed the game so well, and there was no danger whatsoever. And then what happens? We go and lose 1-0. So to your lot, Shah, your lot, your Hemel Hempstead, your Lee Allison. Let's be honest, he done us, he did on Saturday. To be honest, every time we've played Hemel, particularly the last couple of years, ever since probably Lee Allison's come in as well, they've been so hard to beat defensively. Honestly, like they, put so many bodies behind the ball. I mean, it was a well accomplished performance of them. I walked away from that game having absolutely no complaints really about result or anything like that. I mean, we dominated large parts of the game, but ultimately not enough balls came into the box. We didn't create not enough chances. But Hemel have taken really the one chance that they got in the game, and I'd always be the first one to say, well, they had, good 2 or 3 chances. They literally had one chance. And by the way, it was a cracking goal, to be fair, from Miller Matthews-Lewis. If you haven't seen it, overhead kick from around the 12 yards out, just past Nathan Harness, in the stroke of half-time, which was a bit of a killer because you want to get in half-time. It's been a poor half and you just want to reset again and try and get a bit of urgency going. But obviously, you're trailing the game, and Hemel, have got their shape. Superb second half. Like I said, they've clearly done their homework on us. Nullified our strengths. Mo Farrell, he's still trying to get up to scratch fitness wise. Had a couple of chances himself, but just couldn't. Just maybe with a couple more weeks extra, he would bury them. But just everything we did just didn't seem to work. Even the subs we brought on just didn't change the game whatsoever. You bring on someone like Hamza Carbo, who's probably the best super sub we've had in years. Always get us a goal. Didn't do anything to put in his head. I think it's almost like we were scared to just put crosses in for him. So it's ultimately what cost us the game. But do you know what? Fair play to Hemel. And I walked away that game thinking, do you know what? That's exactly where they are in the league, and they deserve to be because they are a very hard working side. Lee Allison's a very passionate man on the sidelines as I've seen. Wanting absolutely everything. But you know what? Look, that's that's what makes him a winner. And obviously with his dad Ian as well, being a part of it, very experienced coach himself. And yeah, look, it was a damaging defeat in terms of the fact that we are 4 points off the playoffs at the moment, 8 points off Hemel, but it's still a long way to go. But it did make me sort of think like maybe we haven't got quite enough to finish in the top 7. We might change it around tomorrow. I mean, tomorrow for me is a must-win game, or at least a must not lose against Ebbsfleet, who are currently occupying that last playoff spot, and having a bit of a, the fact that it was actually the same week actually that we did the 2 derbies with Ebbsfleet and Tunbridge. It's exactly the same this week. We're at home to Ebbsfleet, away to Tunbridge on Saturday, and it's a big week for the club, to be honest, in terms of the fact that we lost both derby games in the league. We need some wins, and now we need it in the derby games now, really. And to be honest, after last week's touchy cup game against Ebbsfleet, it's going to be a difficult one, and obviously with a couple of players out at the moment injured, doesn't help the situation. But you can't not look forward to a derby game under the lights, so hopefully we'll provide that. So unfortunately, not the way we wanted it, but look, we're still in a comfortable position at the moment in terms of fact, at least we only got 10 more points and we're staying up in the league. That's all at least I care about at the moment. So anything else is a bonus. Just allude to the other one, obviously with the other Kent side divisions, Tunbridge Angels pick up a big win against Slough. I've seen Steve has popped in his match reports from the game. So Tunbridge at home, not much to say about this one. Horrific defending for all 3 goals, 7 losses at home this season, already simply not good enough, and we aren't clinical enough. We probably had more of the ball, but Tunbridge were just better defensively and took their chances when they came. And I do agree with that, because first thing foremost, Steve, I'd give you one job to beat Tunbridge, to put them down towards the bottom, and you have to go and let us down, didn't you? So thanks for that.
Ben, if it helps, Tunbridge are currently losing.
They are currently losing to Chelmsford at the moment.
Yeah, they are currently losing. So if you want them to go nearer the bottom, they are 1-0 down to Chelmsford with about 10 minutes to go. So
I need some of those teams that are down the bottom to actually start picking up some points. Albeit they've got games in hand, but they're looking quite comfortable at the moment, Tunbridge, I have to say. But look, it's a big win for them, and to be honest, they probably needed the win in order to just keep that gap between themselves, like I say, and the bottom 4. It's 9 points now. But yeah, Slough, obviously, they were hitting a bit of form as well at one point. I think it was 3 or 4 wins in the bounce for Scott Davis. It was a really good return. It's just a bit of a shame, really. I mean, obviously they've still got 6 points, off the bottom at the moment, so they have taken themselves away from it. But maybe a slightly damaging defeat, particularly the fact that Slough have always prided themselves on their home record, haven't they?
Yeah, we've got 4 wins in the last 6, so that form has picked up.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, Joe, I cut you off there.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, it's weird, isn't it? Because last year, it was almost like Slough don't lose at home, but this year it doesn't seem to be the case. Obviously, as the match report said, 7 defeats already at home. That being said, I think Tonbridge came to play more and managed to get a win about a month or so ago. There are a really organised team under Alan Dunn, and they find a way to get results. And perhaps a little bit like the report itself, the fact that they probably weren't the better side but took their chances. I think that was probably the case when they came to Playmore as well. So, I think Slough will be fine. The aim for them, as much as you joke, Ben, about Maidstone just trying to stay up, for Slough it is just to stay up. In this league, they've obviously had a really productive couple of weeks, a couple of big wins against teams in and around them. I was there when they played Eastbourne and played really well. So, you can begrudge them, the odd off game against Tonbridge, and fair play to Tonbridge.
Yeah, and I think that what's gotten to where they are at the moment in the league for Tunbridge is their away record, because their home record's been pretty dismal, to be fair. I think before the Tottenham game, I want to say it was only 1, maybe 2 wins at home this season. So, the points have really been coming on the road for them, which has been key. Because, like I said, they've gone to, obviously they came to us and beat us. They've gone to Torquay and beaten them. They've beaten some, a couple of the big sides in this league. So they haven't been any mugs. And obviously Dunn Totten, who were having a great season up until maybe the last month or so. So it's, they have picked up the results. And again, their aim, particularly for the start of the season they had, would have been to stay up. And again, like I say, it'd be the same in Slough Town's case. But I think you're right. I think to be honest, I think both of them will be fine, really. So it'll be no trouble with that. Big win, though, at the top of the table, which probably haven't mentioned. Weston-super-Mare 1, Hornchurch 2. Very rare defeat. Is that Weston's first home defeat of the season, potentially? Or have they lost at home already?
Second home defeat. They lost to Dover, was their first one. But yeah, I mean, you're right to mention that. Obviously, they haven't lost many games at home. They've only lost twice at home all season in all competitions. Obviously, older shot in the trophy being the other one, or in the cup competition. So, yeah, I mean, Hornchurch, good side, really experienced. Western themselves have not got a great record against the top teams, it has to be said. You know, they lost to Torquay, they lost to Hornchurch. Yeah, you know, I think one thing that Scott Rogers will be looking at is where in those games against the top sides, where are they actually falling short? Because, you know, I think they themselves will probably expect that they're going to finish in the playoffs. I think rightly so. They've been a good side, but they're probably going to fall short of that title. So, you know, their record against the top teams wouldn't give you confidence going into the playoffs that they're going to, you know, beat the likes of a Dorking or a Maidstone, you know. So, yeah.
Obviously, us, just me.
No, I mean, you know, it made a good team. Yeah, I mean, you know, for Western, obviously they had a good home crowd there. Only a consolation goal in that one. And yeah, you know, Darryl McMahon, he's got his main man back now, hasn't he? Henry Hearn, who I am genuinely a little bit surprised that we haven't seen a Football League club come in for him in January. Certainly, if I was a League Two team, I mean, I actually had him down as a potential player that maybe Barnet would go for. I really like him. If Hornchurch don't go up, I imagine he will be playing higher next year. Really good young player, who they managed to get for an absolute steal from Millwall on virtually a free transfer. They obviously did pay a little bit of money, but yeah, they've got a terrific player there, and ultimately was the difference in that game.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I think they've acquired well in the fact that, you know, they had a little bit of a dip in everything, but they seem to have picked up so again with a couple of wins in the last couple of weeks, which is, you know, I think just kept them ticking along at the top. And now it is right in their own hands. The fact they're already 2 points clear with a game in hand, it could potentially be 5 points again. So, you know, you got to give them some credit, because I would have thought, I was starting to think, this is where they start to fall now a little bit. But Darryl McMahon is still keeping the train going for them, and, you know, look, they're taking advantage of, you know, other teams dropping points. Obviously, with Worthing, you know, drop points. I thought they were going to steamroll it, but Hornchurch are saying no, save dying attitude. I mean, look, I said they'd be in the playoffs this year, but I didn't think they'd still be top at this point of the season. To be fair, I thought it would have been, you know, one of your Worthings or Torquays or Dorkins, but, you know, look, they are still keeping in touch a bit, and, you know, you got to give them absolute credit. You know, look, no one expects them to probably be where they are at this moment, but they've got a very good side and probably one of the better sides on paper in this league. So it really doesn't surprise me that they are. Just a couple of other results to tick on. AFC Tottenham 3, Dover 0. Another damaging result for Dover on the road, where we really are starting to slip down the table now a little bit. Cheshire 1, Maidenhead United 1, Dorking 2, Chippenham 1, Ebbsfleet 1, Dagenham 0, Horsham 2, Chelmsford 3. Chelmsford have started to pick up a little bit of form again now, which has been much needed for Angelo Harrop. Yeah, what we make of it, because I say he's been under huge pressure there, and a lot of fans think at the start of the calendar year we're saying he's going to go, like he's got to go. But look, he's pulled him out of the bag, and obviously they're just about a couple minutes away from seeing it out against Tunbridge, which would take them up to ninth place at the moment. So they're only a couple points off the playoffs now.
Yeah, I mean,
I was going to say, see it out, and that'll be 3 wins in a row, and then they go away to a Slough Town team that we've just heard aren't great at home this year. Win that, and that's 4 wins in a row, and suddenly he's been able to turn this around after all this pressure, and they've spent all this money and they've got all this talent. You need to turn it around. If they win this, they're 2 points outside the playoffs before going away to a Slough team that haven't been as good at home this year. Win that, and if the chips fall their way at the weekend, they can start February in the playoffs. After a bit of a chaotic season where we've judged them and said they've not been good, by the end of January, by 5 o'clock on the 31st, they could be in the playoffs. Which feels a bit weird to say, considering everything negative we've had to say about them all season. We could be speaking next Monday about a Chelmsford side in the playoffs. Anyway, Joe, sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, I mean, I think Andrew Hope's a good manager. I know, he got criticism at the start of the season from Chelmsford fans. He got Braintree into the playoffs. That's ultimately the reason why Chelmsford brought him in, because he did such a good job with them. And they're only 8 points off second with a game in hand. So for as poor as many people have made them out to be, they are still well in that mix for the playoffs. And we saw it last year with Boreham Wood and Maidstone both getting to the final. Two teams that are pretty good in one-off games. I wouldn't write off Chelmsford. If they can finish in that top 7, they're a team that they've got a manager and a couple of players there, the likes of Ben Tompkins, Dom Odesanya, that have won National League South playoffs before. So they're quietly going about their business. Obviously, Adam Crowther, a player that they brought in recently from Boston, or he was on loan at Boston, they signed him permanently from Southend. He scored for them against Horsham, and obviously, Lyle Taylor scoring again this evening for them. So they're not far away. They will quietly fancy themselves to get in that top 7. And they've got a manager that's capable of getting them out of it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think they've got trying to find obviously a different way as well. It's good as well that Lightays amongst goals, particularly the fact that Jack Barham's going to be out for a while. I know he's just recently had surgery. He has, which obviously I wish you well, because Jack's like someone I know really well, obviously from his time at Maidstone, and again on a player in his day is unstoppable at this level, which will be a big miss for Chelmsford. But like I said, they've got plenty of experience on that side to still maintain a real push for the playoffs at the moment. I think it probably is looking like their realistic chance of going up is probably the positive. They've probably let far too many points slip now to really go for a title chance, but you never know. That's the thing. They could go on an unbelievable run forward, win the last 20 of it's like 80 of the last 20 or something like that, and then win the league. But I can't see it happening personally. Just the other results to touch on was Salisbury 1, Hampton and Richmond 1. Salisbury again having a little bit of a revival, let's say, after being towards really been stuck in that sort of relegation battle, but now put themselves a bit more comfortably away now, sitting 9 points away. So brilliant for them, and Hampton just currently occupying that last relegation spot at the moment. Anything else someone wants to touch on the National South, or are we all quite happy to move on? Perfect, sounds good to me. Sam, moving us up with the league table, already ahead of schedule. So at the top of the table, we've got Hornchurch with 52 points. Worthing currently sitting second with 50 points. Just below them on goal difference are Torquay United with, again, 50 points. Dorking Wanderers, again, just below Torquay on goal difference with 50 points. Weston-super-Mare, 48 points in fifth. Hemel Hempstead, yes, Shah, Hemel Hempstead.
Hemel. I can pronounce them now. I'm posh.
You'll be like me one day.
Exactly.
And then Ebbsfleet United occupying the last playoff spot on 44 points. And in the bottom 4, we have Hampton and Richmond in 21st on 25 points. Enfield Town 22nd on 21 points. Eastbourne Borough on 21 points and sitting in 23rd. And still bottom of the table, but slowly climbing their way back up. Chippenham Town with 20 points. And that brings us on to the glory land of the National League. So, Morgan, before we hit on another great result for the Minster men, any standouts for you over the weekend?
It's slightly boring. Luke will love me for this. Brackley 0, Hartlepool 0. I feel like it's just been a bit of a battle of two teams that have a good defence this year. Like, it's how Brackley are in the position they are. And I'm not sure if it's been confirmed, but I did see a rumour that they've signed Keaton Harrott from Oldham. I'm not sure if that's gone through permanently or officially, but that's a really good signing for a team that needs some attacking input. That's really good for they've built everything off how good their defence has been. It was good last year when they got promoted. It's been really good so far this year. They've had that solid core and they have looked good this year. Then Hartlepool, who obviously under Simon Grayson, they look quite good defensively. They changed manager. In comes Nicky Featherstone as a bit of a club legend, and he kept that rolling. They don't seem to be doing much attacking wise. But again, it's two teams that you have kind of gone unnoticed this year. They're both probably doing slightly better than expected. Hartlepool are still in a shout of the playoffs with how Southend have fallen away. Halifax are now in the playoffs. That gap has opened up, and there is a window there that Hartlepool could take advantage of if they keep these defensive performances going. they can possibly sneak 7th. While Brackley on the other end, people were saying they're going to finish 23rd, 24th. I think I was one of them, to be fair. They seemed outmatched when they got promoted. And at the moment, they're outside the relegation zone. And it's because of this defence. It's a slightly boring one to choose first round to go for. But yeah, I think they both deserve a bit of a nod for their defensive strengths.
I mean, it's probably a bit awkward, like the fact that, you're a side that tends to see goals week in, week out. You've gone for the one that doesn't have any goals. I mean,
defence.
5-0 against Braintree. I saw it was 4-0, wasn't it, after about half an hour?
Yeah.
Talk to us, I mean, that again, it's probably a standard York City performance at this moment in time, isn't it?
This is going to sound really greedy, but that was really boring. I've got to be honest. Like, we were 1-0 up. We were 1-0 up after 4 minutes. The game was done within 4 minutes because I thought they're not getting back into this. We were 3-0 up or 3-4 up incredibly quickly. It was like, well, that's game over. Like, I like a game where there's a little bit on the line. Like, it's freezing cold in January at the moment. I'm sat in this concrete stadium, which doesn't have much warmth to it, as there is nothing on the line. It was really fun to watch, really easy. Braintree are awful, but I don't think they're as any worse than Truro or Gateshead that I think we put 4 past. Ollie Pearce hit another hat-trick. I don't think he tried. He didn't really have to try. Like, they just didn't look very good. And I saw one of my friends say on Twitter about Steve Pitt, their manager, and how unmotivating he came across. I don't know what's going on there as a club, but they just seem to turn up without any real effort. We didn't have to try, and it might have been we are just so well drilled at this point that we can just cruise past them. But it was just easy. I still don't think we're going to win the league, by the way, Charles, so I'll let you have that one. I'm still saying Rochdale are winning it. But back-to-back clean sheets for the first time under Stuart Maynard. So if I'm saying defence wins championships, we've not conceded in a week. We might get there. We might get there.
I mean, I'm just looking at it. 74 goals scored in 28 games. I mean,
we're averaging 3-1 win every week.
I mean, I would rip your right arm off to watch goals like that every week, man, because you've scored well over double the amount of goals that mates don't have. Well over. We scored 32 this year. You've watched well over that already. And you've played, I know it's a couple of games, but it's ridiculous the amount of goals you've scored. Yeah,
we're averaging a 3-1 win every week. And I should probably appreciate it a little bit more because I do seem to take it for granted. Like, we turn up and we win. It's like Pierce hit a hat-trick, Greg Ollie scored, and Boateng got one. I don't think any of the goals were that good. Boateng hit one from about 20 yards. He just walked through their midfield, hit it. It took a deflection, went past the keeper. And there was one that went through the keeper's legs. There was Greg Ollie got a goal and assist, and I don't think I've ever seen a player play so badly and get a goal and assist. It was a really weird performance for Greg Ollie. He got in the National League Team of the Week, but there were so many chances for him to play the right pass, and he underhit passes constantly, or he played it too late, or he waited until the striker was offside. It should have been about 8. And Greg Ollie played quite badly for a man that was then in the Team of the Week. Pierce did what he always does. He took his chances, but it could have been far more if we actually tried. Like, we didn't have to try to score 5 goals, which is a weird thing to say.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Stuart Maynard, the quote from him at the end of the game said he was actually disappointed it was a 9. So that just shows how good it was, how a dominant performance it was.
Yeah, I could honestly see Greg Ollie being dropped for Solihull away on Saturday, which I'm going to, and it'll be my first away game of the season, which I'm very excited for. But yeah, I could see him being dropped because for a player that somehow contributes, he seems to miss-hit passes constantly. For a number 10 that was really good at Gateshead and part of those Mike Williamson teams that were really good, and even under Rob Elliott when they transitioned to a new manager, they were excellent. And he was part of that. And him and Regan Boot were 2 of the best players in that attacking team. He looks awful. I don't say he looks awful for us, but he just doesn't look good. And I don't know how to describe it, but I don't know. There's something about Greg Ollie that doesn't seem to sit well. He gets game time. I think it's because we are lacking. Ollie Banks has been suspended and injured and stuff, but I think Ollie Banks is a far better player than him in that number 10 spot. He's a weird player.
Yeah, I know Mr. Luke will certainly snap your right hand off for him back at Gateshead. So I'll leave that motivate.
No, he's a weird player, and we're lucky to have him like we are this entire squad. But yeah, Greg Ollie's a weird one.
Yeah. I mean, as well, just a reminder for everyone in the chat, if you've got match reports from a game in the National League, please send them in. I've already seen Mr. Luke's blinding match report of the Gateshead Wheelstone postponed game of we won the water polo game, didn't get awarded the 3 points by the league. Hey, but at least it's a week where you didn't lose. So you got to take the small wins a little, because I knew full well when we were bottom of the league in the National League, you just got to laugh a bit, to be honest, at this moment. So,
I mean, Luke, come on, sort your pitch out. I can say this now. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Oh, goodness me.
What was that thing in the chat? What's the secret recipe for scoring goals? Have an owner that wants to sign the best striker that non-league's possibly ever seen, because that's what it comes down to. It's very lucky with the ownership. And very lucky to have one of the best strikers the National League's ever seen. That's what it comes down to.
I mean, let's be honest. We've had some unbelievable strikers, in National League. I mean, actually, I put it to the whole panel. Actually, is Ollie Pearce the best number 10 or number 9 we've ever seen in the National League, or is there anyone better that we've probably seen? Because with his goal score record, it's hard, to compare, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean that's a really, really tough one. I think in terms of just goals, pure goals, and I say pure goals when he offers so much more than just goals. But in terms of the numbers that he produces, you probably would have to say Ollie Pearce.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally am still a massive fan of John Akinde. I know he was on the bench at the weekend, but certainly when I go back over the years, having watched number 9s come to play more, he's the one player that you really look at and think, yeah, that's a proper number 9. But yeah, I mean, you'd obviously chuck in the names like Andy Cook, Michael Cheek, players that you just expect to score. But in terms of the sheer number of goals he scores, I think you would look at Ollie Pearce. It's crazy when he scores that many, and yet he does all of the other stuff as well, the dropping short, linking the play, creating chances. I think in terms of an all-round striker, then you probably aren't going to get many better than Ollie Pearce.
He's so intelligent. So intelligent.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree.
No one else you've seen better, would you reckon, at this level? Would you say, from what you've seen in person, his all-round game is probably better than most strikers you've probably come across in National League? I know, obviously, you've only been here for a couple of years, of course, but, in terms of probably the strikers you've seen, you probably think there's no more complete than him, I'd assume.
No, obviously, I know Joe mentioned quite a lot, and I'd completely agree with him, but especially modern, and since we've been obviously in the National League, Ollie Pearce, he's somebody who, I think I said it, I don't know if anybody saw the clip I put on my YouTube channel, and I was like, I love Ollie Pearce from a football fan perspective because he's such a good player. He's so much quality. But from a Rochdale perspective, he frustrates me so much. And we've obviously been on the back end of that, and Ollie Pearce. But yeah, I think he's definitely the one. Just the goals he scores, just everything about him. And yeah, since we've been in National League, Ollie Pearce is my top one because it's just so consistent, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just so consistent.
And the fact that
it was at Dover. It was at Dover a few years ago.
Oh, Ricky Miller. Yeah, Ricky Miller.
That was
Ricky Miller. I was trying to think of someone that's got me. He scored 41 season, didn't he?
I thought it was about 40.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of probably a single season, obviously you would say Ricky Miller probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just ridiculous that every time he cut in on that left foot, and you knew it would end up in the back of the net. But I think what makes Ollie Pearce so good is he's not the biggest, he's not the best in the air. It's just his intelligence. Pick up those clever positions. And a lot of the credit for him certainly this season, because I do think he has been better this season than he was last year. Has got to go to Stones as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Love him.
Who last year was kind of, I wouldn't say shoehorned in, but you didn't really know where he fitted in to this York team. Whereas this year he's sort of leading the line with Pearce almost playing like a number 10 really, and sort of dropping short, linking the play. And yeah, I mean he's been terrific. If he's still playing by his 41 like Ian Henderson, then he might well have broken all the scoring records.
I was appreciating the comment as well of Manny Dooku. I'll put that on record.
I was going to say to see if Morgan said anything. I was going to go, oh yeah, Manny Dooku, especially when he scores against your last game at season.
Oh yeah, that'd be nice.
No,
you'll go level on points with us, and we'll have a 50 better goal difference, and you'll finish second because of him.
No. I've had so much hate. Well, not hate, it's more banter, to be fair,
It's
from
banter.
York fans saying Rochdale have gone so behind now signing Manny Dooku. So I am convinced, like the Joe Thompson, God rest his soul, moment against Charlton, we're going to get that against you, and Manny Dooku is going to score the winner that gets us into the EFL. And then I woke up from a dream.
If I'm being honest, Shara, I think you've got the league wrapped up before them. Because as I said, defence wins championships. You've got games in hand, and you go 2-0 up and you shut it down. We conceded 2 against Brackley. We conceded 2 against Eastleigh. Like, we've conceded 2 against teams that you do not concede 2 against. Like, yeah, we can hit 5 against Braintree without trying, but it's taken us until the end of January to keep 2 clean sheets in a row. Like,
we've got Southend tomorrow. Don't jinx us.
That's not going ahead.
I mean, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because yes, I think Rochdale obviously better defensively, but ultimately you're not going to win a game at 0-0, are you? So you need to go and win. I mean, sorry, Shah, but I would still pick York for me. I mean, I put them before the season. I just think they create so many opportunities that I think, and the confidence that they play, I think they'll just pip it. I think it will be between those two. I don't see anyone else other than those two winning it, to be honest. So I think it will be York or Rochdale. But yeah, I mean, what an appointment Stuart Maynard's been as well, because I think when Adam Hinchelwood left, I think people raised eyebrows. And I know a couple of Notts County fans, or certainly Barnet fans, given the rivalry with Wealdstone, certainly had a couple of choice words. But he's been terrific. And one thing I really like about Stuart Maynard is, as brilliant as his team is, you never really hear from him. He's very quiet. He very, just goes under the radar, just does his stuff. And there's a quiet confidence about him, which I really like. And yeah, I think, credit to York, they've got a really good manager there. And, they plucked him from the Football League, and I kind of expect them to end up there.
If I could sum him up in one word, it'd be professional. Like, as you said, he goes under the radar. He does so much work, and he just gets the preparation right for every single game. It's like, we'll just go do this one game at a time. Doesn't get carried away. He's here to do a job, and I think it's why Josh Stones is firing. And I've said it before, I think it was he's come in and seen, all right, well, this is my squad. And we've added, since he came in, we've added Zach Johnson on loan that turned permanent. We've added Morgan Williams as centre-back cover. I don't know if we've done much else going forward. He's gone, well, this is how I've got to set up a team. And he's used the players that Adam Hinchelwood brought in. And he's just gone, well, this is what I have to do. This is my job. There's been no ego about it. It's just, I'm here to do a job. And whether he gets us up or not, when he leaves the football club in whatever way, he'll leave in the way that Neil Ardley left, of this hasn't worked out professionally and we won't hear from him again. There'll be no bad blood between him and the ownership. There'll be nothing. It'll be, I came to do a job, I did or didn't do the job, and he left. And I'm so happy he's our manager, because he's just professional.
Yeah, definitely. It's only up now for York. Let's say they're right on the toes now, but it's like I say, it's certainly a title race for the ages. Maybe not quite yet. It's probably a bit too early to say if it's quite a Notts County Wrexham type, but it's still very long ways to go. Both teams, I say, could be one for 100 points. You never know. You never know. And what I will say as well, just by the way, I will take no Manny Dooku slander in this chat or in this podcast. That man did a job for us at Portman Road, and I'll never forget him for that. So that's him, in my top favourite strikers now for that. But Shah, Dale, 2-0 over Truro. Was that expected?
To be honest, I don't want to sound like Morgan here, but we didn't have to get out of second gear. Yeah. We absolutely controlled the game, to be honest. I know it was 2-0 on the day. As soon as you see that we've scored in the 3rd minute, obviously Tyler Smith goal. I don't know if anybody actually saw that goal, but the build-up play towards that was absolutely brilliant. And Ian an Ian Henderson assist as well on his birthday.
Yeah.
Them two linked up really, really well, may I add, and they have done when they have played together. When we obviously went 1-0 up in the 3rd minute, a lot of Dale fans were thinking, oh, nice one. Let's try and get some goals here against Truro, because obviously York are winning. Their goal difference is obviously absolutely phenomenal at the moment, as Morgan did say. But to be honest, we hit the woodwork. The goalie made like 3 saves in one. I think it was from Barlow, McBride, and then Henderson. The goalie played really, really well when he had to be fair. And it just so happened that we could have scored so many more, but it just weren't for going in. Obviously, we did get awarded a penalty. Ian Henderson steps up on his birthday. He did miss that penalty, but then he did put it right, scored a goal. Good goal. Tyler Smith obviously assisted Ian Henderson, so that's brilliant for our forward play. But the only bad thing is Tyler Smith did go off injured after that, and it has been announced it is a hamstring injury, so he is out for a number of weeks. We do have cover. We've obviously got Devante Rodney, Manny, I always say Manny D, sorry, Emmanuel Desirue. We've got Manny Duku as well. You've got the likes of Conor McBride, Adi Barlow, Jake Burgess. So we do have other options, to be fair, and Ryan East as well, if you put him further forward, which we saw against Gateshead. He's obviously quite dangerous as well. So we do have them options, but Tyler Smith was really hitting form. That was actually his 5th goal so far of the season, which I didn't actually realise in the league. But I just feel like he cannot catch a break at the minute, Tyler Smith. And I feel like that's happened throughout his career, where he's got so much potential. He's obviously a proven goal scorer in so many leagues. I think we saw it when he was on loan as well at Barrow. But he just is very, very injury prone, and he can't catch that break, which is obviously very, very disappointing and awful for him as well. Because you can see his potential there, and he really does fit in our system, and he just offers that something different as well to our other forward players. But yeah, it was just a very professional performance. As I said, we didn't have to get out of second gear. I do want to come on and talk about Callum Perry, though, the young lad that we do have on loan from Coventry.
I was just going to ask about him, Shah.
I was absolutely gutted when Sam Beckwith got injured. Obviously, it was against the Southend game. It made it even more gutting, the fact that that Southend game got postponed. We were winning. And obviously, Sam Beckwith got injured. Everybody on this podcast and people who watch National League know how vital and how much of a good, consistent player Sam Beckwith is. Very good defensively, but also very good at driving the ball forward, and he does like scoring a goal or two as well. They're often peaches as well, Sam Beckwith's goal. So I was really, really worried. We obviously got Charlie Waller in for a couple of games as well when we needed him. But Callum Perry has played 2 games now. Obviously, it started against Solihull. We're very, very good defensively. Obviously, Joe Pritchard got that late winner against Solihull. Weather conditions weren't really great. It was windy and stuff in that game, but we managed to grind out that win. Very good defensive performance. Definitely. And then on Saturday, he was absolutely brilliant, and he reminded me so much of Sam Beckwith as well. He just slots in so perfectly. Liam Hogan played with rested Ebanks Landell, but Kyron Gordon played, and he really did slot in that defence absolutely perfectly and got man of the match, which is so good to see. I'm just hoping, because we do only have him for a month, that obviously we can extend it. A couple of Coventry fans came into my stream last night when I was talking Rochdale, and they seem to think if he's playing enough game time for Rochdale, they don't see a problem with him obviously extending that loan. I think it's just a rolling thing at the minute, just to see if he is getting the game time, which obviously, because we're playing so many games, he will get the game time. He is performing, but he's somebody who is, I really, really like him. He's only played 2 games, but it seems like a perfect Sam Beckwith, like, I don't want to say replacement, but somebody who is like doing well in that position. But yeah, it was one of them where Truro, to be fair, I didn't know which way it was going to go because they really made it difficult when we played against them early on in the season. We only beat them 1-0. And even though it was only 2-0, like I said, it was a very, very good performance to us. We didn't have to get out of that second gear. We did end up bringing Manny Desirue on, which is obviously so good to see him back. And yeah, it was just a really, really good win. I'm just really, really gutted, obviously, with the Tyler Smith injury, but it gave Jim some time to rest some players. One player who I do want to mention as well is Casey Petit, because I feel like every time we see Casey Petit play, he's so good in that midfield. He performs so well. He's just probably one of the unluckiest players in the aspect where Harvey Gilmore and Ryan East are playing that well in the midfield together. Obviously, he's just not managing to kind of get that first team spot. But honestly, Casey Petit is doing absolutely brilliant. And I thought he was so, so good on Saturday. But yeah, just it's going well. And I'm hoping long may it continue. And it's great to have Ollie Watmuth back as well, our keeper. I'm loving this new Ollie Watmuth since he's come back from injury because he's now 18 and he's got a little bit of sass and a little bit of arrogance and cockiness behind him, which I do like to see, to be fair with him. So he's liking winding everybody up. So I'm liking this new Ollie Watmuth. May I add?
And also chance to go top as well tomorrow against Southend. But again, the tough qualities they bring from obviously the last encounters obviously before he got called off. But it must be all positive now, thinking that after a good win like that, knowing that I said they didn't have to get out second gear, they can put more energy into tomorrow's one, can't they?
Yeah, it's really good in that aspect, and obviously the squad depth as well, because as I mentioned, we could rest some key players as well, which was obviously really good, and it's something we couldn't really do last season. I'm going to hold my hands up right now. I am worried about tomorrow. I'm not confident in the slightest, and that's not me saying, oh, I think Southend are going to come and beat us. I just honestly think the way it's going as well, I'm on a journey with this Southend game. First time got called off an hour before kickoff. Yes. Then obviously during the game. So it'd just be typical when we were 2-1 up, 30 minutes left to play, Southend beat us, honestly. And so many people are saying, oh, Rochdale have got games in hand. But I say week in, week out, I would rather have points on the board than this. I feel like tomorrow we can't afford to be sloppy because the last game early on, I know it was a very, very good goal from Coker to obviously put Southend 1-0 up at the Crown Oil Arena before we did come back. But we were very, very sloppy in one aspect, and Southend are very, very sharp. They're quite physical, but they will jump at the chance, and they put us under a lot of pressure, and they did that in the playoffs as well, Southend, and obviously made that comeback. So we can't afford to be sloppy. But yeah, it's always hard playing against a Kevin Mayer team. It really, really is. So I don't think it will be easy tomorrow. Southend obviously playing good football, just outside of the playoffs, but they have a couple of injuries as well, which is obviously from their point of view very, very disappointing. But you can never, ever write off Southend. I'm just really, really happy that we've been able to give key players like Devante Rodney a rest, Ryan East a rest as well, Ebanks Landell, obviously that rest. And it'd be interesting to see if he starts with Emmanuel Desirue, because he did come on. It's just whether he is fit enough to play, from the start. That is the question, but I'm hoping it's going to be an exciting one.
The only key thing I need to ask as well about the Truro game, how many fans did Truro take?
Do you know what, to be fair? They did bring a decent following. Obviously, it wasn't many, but to be fair to them, they've made the journey, obviously, to Rochdale, but they were in good spirits. They were singing, and they enjoyed themselves despite the loss.
No, they've got a great fan base. They brought, 150, I think, up to York, and it was right before Christmas. It was like 5 days before Christmas, they brought 150 up to us. And they made a bit of noise, to be fair to them. They've got, considering the size of the club, they've got one of the best fan bases in the league, I think. The distances and the performances and everything, they still turn up in decent numbers. So fair play to Truro fans.
100%. I know Danny as well was at the game on Saturday for Dale Truro. He's put his match report in. He's put as comfortable at 2-0 as you'll see. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Been more. The GOAT with a goal, assist, missed pen and hit post all in his 41st birthday and in his 531st appearances. 501st appearance for the club as well, which again is a huge detriment to what the service is given Rochdale over the years. So no, big up Hendo. We love Hendo with this podcast, as you well know. So, but no, another big win for Rochdale. Joe, any standouts for you from over the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I've already waxed lyrical about him on the NL full-time pod, but Halifax again, another win into the top 7 now. I mean, the best thing I can say about Adam Lakeland is they're not really missing Chris Millington. And for as good a manager as he is, I think Adam Lakeland's been terrific. Gone in there, he's brought in a lot of players from lower leagues or players that have perhaps played academy football and very much new to this level. And one of those that he picked up from the National League North in the summer, Will Harris from Spennymoor. 2 goals for him, including a nice overhead kick as well to get one of those 2 goals. And yeah, a win on the road into the top 7 now, starting to build a bit of momentum. It'd be interesting to see what happens this week with obviously the window. And I know that there is interest in obviously Josh Hamami having handed in a transfer request. And given that Halifax always have a good young team, I wouldn't be at all surprised if there's interest in a couple more of their players as well. But yeah, what a job he's doing there. Really, really impressed with Adam Lakeland. I thought he was really harshly moved on by Kings Lynn before he got the job with Halifax. So it's nice to see them give a job to a good up-and-coming young manager. And he's doing a good job there. As for Eastleigh, it's just not got going, has it, really, for Scott Bartlett? Yeah, dipping in the league, struggling for wins. Obviously, they brought in a couple of players. Obviously, got rid of Paul McCallum. I see that Niall May here, funny enough, he was out for, I think it was something like 300 days or something for injury, but was back, obviously, against his former team on the weekend. But yeah, it's just not got going for Scott Bartlett. I mean, I thought he did a good job at Western. Obviously deserved a chance at a higher level, but just not been able to get going yet.
I think that's that thing. Do you know who I blame for that? Sam's not been going to the games, I think. So that's my opinion. Sam, they need your support clear then.
They need some support, that's for sure. At least they didn't lose 4-1 this week. It was 3-2, so they're improving slightly.
So we're going to get a draw then next week, are we now?
And this is it, yeah. A draw, and then I'll turn up, and it'll all be happy. If I stop booing their bus and they let me in, then I'll be all right.
Another big win as well. Like I said, we've mentioned obviously Halifax and Solihull as well. Obviously making up for last-minute goal they conceded against the Dale on Wednesday night. Big win at Morecambe, and I've seen Luke's comment as well. How is that still in the job at the moment? I mean, Jen could obviously probably answer that question for us, but obviously, unfortunately, she couldn't make it tonight. Really rough times for Morecambe, but another good win for Solihull on the road on the other side.
It seems like we could say the same thing about Morecambe every week.
We've said it all these, haven't we?
Going over the same land again, aren't we? It's just not picking up. At the start of the season, they looked like a decent team in terms of passing and looked offensively good going forward. But there's nothing, you look at the teams around the bottom and you would say, well, Braintree, yes, they conceded 5 at York, but before that, they actually had the second best defence in the bottom half. Sutton have actually picked up under Chris Agata, and they look like a better side, and Altrincham seem to have picked up a couple of good results, but there's just nothing to put your hat on that Morecambe are not even going to put a run together, let alone win a game. They just look so devoid of confidence. Obviously, they brought in some experience in Harley Dean. Seems like they've got the the National League's revolving door. They must have got through at least 30 players already this season. Just not looking good for them, is it? Yes, they've got a club, but unfortunately, I think they'll be supporting the National League North club this season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad as well you've mentioned Altrincham, actually, because we haven't touched on them. What a win over Boreham Wood, who have maybe just hit a little bit of a bump now, I'll say, after being blistering form and everything. And then, they lost at Scunthorpe at home last Tuesday, which was probably wasn't a big shock because, both sides are doing very well at the moment. But the Altrincham probably would have hit home a little bit. I mean, obviously, obviously about Altringham's ups and downs throughout this league and everything, but what big few 3 points that is against a side probably one of the better footballing sides in the division.
Definitely. I'm going to take credit for this as well because I was bigging up Boreham Wood last week on a podcast. So I have done the ultimate podcast jinx that I do week in, week out. So I am taking credit. But yeah, Altrincham, a very, very obviously big win for them. It's nice to see as well because I've mentioned Altrincham time and time again. And I just feel like they're so inconsistent at the minute. But they are putting in some good performances now, especially the last couple of games, to be fair. Nice to see as well somebody who I feel like has been around the leagues. He was obviously Oldham last season, but Otis Khan back on the score sheet as well. But one person who I feel like needs to get so much credit, who doesn't really get it, obviously he's been at Hartlepool, he's at Altrincham now, but Tom Crawford, I feel like he's such an underrated player, honestly, Tom Crawford. And he always puts the shift in. He's always digging in, whoever he's at. And that's one person I did want to recognise because even when we've played Altrincham, he's always had such a good game, and I feel like he's such a workhorse, and he really, really does try, Tom Crawford. But yeah, a massive, massive win, obviously, for Altrincham, and not something we say often, but it's very, very strange, and it's seeing Boreham Wood obviously only score for one goal and obviously lose because they're goal machines as well, aren't they? And sorry, Morgan, I know you did want to obviously have your say too.
I was just going to say with Boreham Wood, I thought there might be some bump in the road when it came to January, but I thought it'd be due to losing players. They've not lost any of their really top quality players that you think, Abdul Maliki's going to go to the Football League and they'll hit a bump in the road. We're a few days from the end of January and they've kept this squad together. This bump in the road feels a bit out of character. I don't think anyone expected this to come and the drop points the week before. Obviously very glad, but you look at it and they've still got Regan Booty came in this year, but Matt Rush is still up top. Abdul Malik's still in that attack. Eriko Souza's still there. You can run through that team. There's quality everywhere. The only player that they've lost is Jeff King being recalled by us, but they've got enough quality in the rest of that pitch that him leaving I don't think is the kind of catalyst to them dropping points. They've got so much quality, and we know how good of a manager Luke Garrard is, that's his name. We know how good of a manager he is. He should be able to adapt to losing a very good right back, and I don't think that's the reason. And they're not the type of club to make excuses. He's a very upfront manager, and he takes accountability for stuff. He's not going to start saying, we should have kept Jeff King and all this. I expect him to turn it around. I expect them to get back to winning way soon. It's a bit weird that we expected the drop points to come as a result of losing players. That's not happened.
Yeah, I think I'm just going on Danny's point here. I think that was just about what I was about to touch on, because there could be transfer talks in the background, or at least rumours of it, and it could be distracting some of them at the moment because I know in this day and age now, it's all over social media. Everyone seems to get a rumour from somewhere and post it online. But again, like I say, because there's still a week left, they're probably thinking, am I going to get a last minute call into the Football League? That's the thing. They're going to get that offer that moves me up a couple of levels. That could be happening, to be fair. Like I say, it'd be interesting to see after the window closes whether they pick up that form again. Because like I said, this is very much our character. I mean, the Scunthorpe win, the thing you can probably let slide a little bit because Scunthorpe been doing really well. But the Altrincham one, that sort of came as a bit of a shock because against those sort of sides, they've been, pretty much getting past them quite comfortably, haven't they?
Yeah, they've been able to not quite steamroll, but it's been pretty regulation of Boreham Wood, they're against a team in the bottom half of the table, they'll win. They drew with us, that's fine. York City and Boreham Wood always draw, and they drop points to Scunthorpe. All right, they're almost in a title race now. dropping points to other teams in the top 6, you can kind of shrug at. It's not what you want, but you're not massively surprised. Dropping points away at Altrincham, yeah, it's an away game, but I don't think Boreham would have ever been too bothered by home and away games. I feel like they're one of those teams that will just be able to turn up, be professional, get the job done, and move on.
Yep.
They're not one of those teams that, like we spoke about Slough earlier, of last year they were great at home, and this year it's weird that they're not winning games at home. When we talk about teams having a fortress, and that's where they get their points from. Boreham would have never been one of those, so it is a bit weird that they have lost this game. But, I mean, I'll take it, but I expect Luke Garrett to turn it around, even if it does mean, like, they might drop points again next week on the 31st, because, again, there might still be those transfer talks happening in the background. And then, by the time February comes around, window's shut and they can crack on with their football.
Definitely. Big win for Sutton United at Tamworth. David Rudari getting the winner there. I mean, I was a bit surprised when, to be honest, Sutton brought him in, to be fair, because I think he was at a struggling Hampton and Richmond side. And, you know, Sutton obviously been moved up a level. But, you know, like I say, I mean, I think he's always had the potential. I mean, I've watched him a couple of clubs this with Dorking and with, obviously, Hampton and Richmond. But he seems to be, I mean, obviously, Joe, you'll probably know him back quite well, obviously, from his time in National South. I mean, the sort of qualities he provides, do you think he sort of could step up to the National League?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a difficult one with strikers because I think sometimes a striker can fit one club and then not fit others, and they just perhaps need that right environment to flourish. I mean, I use the example of Patrick Casey, who obviously was at Maidstone, you know, didn't do great there. Has gone to Dorking, and he looks really good. You know, he just seems to fit in at Dorking. And, you know, strikers rely on service. So they're very much reliant on having a good team around them to get the best out of them. And, you know, I wouldn't say he's going to be a reliable goal scorer at this level, but for the way that Chris Agata wants to play, to, you know, for Sutton to get the ball down and feed chances for him, he could be a success under Agata. I mean, he brings on players, develops players really well. So, yeah, you know, Sutton could be the right fit for him. He's always been, as you said, I think he's always been a capable striker. Whether or not he's actually got the best out of his quality and found the right team for him, potentially not. So hopefully Sutton is that team for him.
Yeah, I just want as well to give a big shout out to Jack Sims there, the keeper at Sutton, made a tremendous save, I think, in the game against Ham. I don't know if anyone's seen it, where it sort of felt like he saved it, was going backwards and he somehow managed to scoop it out. It was a cracking save, and probably, I think he got a lot of the plaudits he did at the end. So obviously a big performance from him, and, you know, a massive win against a tough Tamworth side that's at home, you know, where they really have started to make it a very tough venue for, you know, even the top sides to go to. So, you know, for where they are in the division at the moment, Sutton, that was a massive 3 points from the road. We can't go, though, without mentioning one of the games at the top of the table, Scunthorpe 3, Forest Green 2. What our views on that? I mean, Scunthorpe, they seem to be stuck in sixth place for God knows how long. And now, you know, they're way up to fourth, you know, obviously in goal difference now with Boreham Wood. I mean, Andy Butler's doing it again for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think I need to eat humble pie on this one. Obviously, yeah, you know, fair play. They've got that one wrong. They're having a great season. Obviously, Andy Butler, I think, is probably going to be the Pickers manager of the season so far for the job that he's doing. Obviously, you always look towards the team that win the title. But, you know, for the job that he's done for them to come up, he hasn't added a great deal to his team. He's obviously made a couple of clever additions, but it's been largely the same team that got promoted. So he's doing a great job there. And some of the perhaps criticism that their fan base had going into the season about him, he's perhaps, you know, found that he has got answers and can change things and tweak things. Obviously went to a back five in the week against Boreham Wood, and that managed to restrict Boreham Wood to very little. Obviously got a result against Forest Green as well. So he's doing a good job. And yeah, I mean, as for Forest Green, I think they're still a decent side, but I saw a stat that they've only kept one clean sheet since the 1st of October.
Wow.
In the league. The last clean sheet actually coming against Boston. So, before that, Boston. So yeah, it just seems to have dropped off a little bit, hasn't it? With Robbie Savage, obviously they're always in and around it. I mean, Ricardo Reis again on the score sheet, but they just can't seem to edge those games.
Yeah. I mean, from a Forest Green perspective, Morgan, are you surprised about, sort of the dip in form? Because at one point it seemed to be like no one was going to stop them, and everything seemed to be going their way. But all of a sudden now they're dropping a few silly points along the way. I mean, obviously this game maybe is on a different perspective because of, where the two teams are. But is it maybe feel like the pressure's maybe getting to them a little bit at the moment? Because I say there is a lot of expectation under this level, isn't there?
There is. This might sound, I don't know, harsh, but I've never really been that impressed by them. Last year, when they came to York, it was one of the most boring games of football I've ever watched. Like, it was 1-1 draw and it is what it is. And I don't feel like they ever really impressed. They've got the quality. They've got Ricardo Reis up front, who we know can score goals. They've got Nick Horton, who was one of the best players in National League North and National League. They've got so much quality in that team in midfield, in defence as well. Like, even Shah, you've spoken about Jilly Boabu.
I love him.
Sometimes, like, you love that man. They've got quality, but they never seem to really put it together. It's like Carlisle. They've got Regan Linney and Chris Conklin, but they can't put it together as a team. They're good enough to finish, 4th, 5th, 6th. But when you look at how complete York, Rochdale and Boreham Wood are, it feels like they're night and day compared to a Scunthorpe team that, when you look at the rest of the top 6, Scunthorpe are newly promoted and Andy Butler's punching above his weight because no one really expected them to be this good. A Forest Green team that have quality but no real patterns, it feels like. They can't keep clean sheets. They can't really put it together. You don't feel like they're going to hit 3 or 4 goals, but you don't feel like they're going to do a Rochdale and completely shut you down. Carlisle are the same. It's like, yeah, they can get it to Regan Linney or Con Clark and they might beat it, but it doesn't feel like they've got patterns of play. I feel like they've got there through spending money but not in a sensible way. Here's some money, here's some great players, but that doesn't win you this league. That doesn't get you out of this league. You look at how other teams have got out of this league. Barnet went on a 3-4 month unbeaten run last year and kept keeping clean sheets. Oldham got out of this league by being experienced, knowing when to pull the trigger and when to beat teams. The years before that, Chesterfield were incredibly dominant and had built that team for years. Bromley have been building for years, and we see how they're doing in League Two now. Notts County and Wrexham you knew what they were going to do. Like, you look at the last teams that got out of this league, and it feels like they had patterns of play, and you know what they're going to do. Yes, you've got to spend money to get there, but you've got to do it in a sensible manner. Carlisle and Forest Green, I feel like, are very, very similar. Of here's some good players. It's good enough to get you 5th, 6th, or maybe up to 4th. You've got better quality than your Hartlepools, your Halifaxes that are just outside the playoffs. But there's nothing really there. They don't feel that threatening to me. I don't know about you, Shara, as another team that we'd say it's a York Rochdale title race, but to me, they don't feel threatening.
No, I agree. Like, at the beginning, I felt so, but I don't know if they've kind of been found out. But I think the way they play football as well, especially with someone like Jilibi Abu, I like Jilibi Abu. I said last season how much I rate him, but I don't know if they're playing essentially with too many attacking players rather than like have them defend, the defensive, like, kind of, that's what you need. And we've mentioned it before, haven't we, Morgan, with like obviously Dale, and you need to keep clean sheets, you need back defense. And I feel like Jilibi Abu in particular is someone who can get you goals going forward. He's such a goal threat, but he lacks that defensive quality about him. And I don't know if it's just a style they play. I don't know if, like you said, with transfer rumours as well. I know obviously Laurent Mendy, Hearts are after him, aren't they, in the Scottish League? He still performed the other day. I think he got 2 assists for Forest Green. But even the likes of Robbie Savage, as soon as a team sacks a manager, Robbie Savage is instantly linked with that job. And I know he's linked to the Leicester job as well for some reason. And I know it's like a real big jump and stuff, but that's obviously unsettling. But I don't know if necessarily the bigger the name of manager, like your Mark Hughes, like your Robbie Savages, it puts so much more pressure on them because people expect, they're a big name. Are they going to perform? And are they going to obviously bring wonders? And I think it's nice in one aspect from the Rochdale and York point of view, where so many people, even though obviously with York, so many people backed York, but they were backing your Carlisles, your Forest Greens and stuff. And it's kind of nice from my point of view to not have that big name manager and not have like that kind of pressure on you. Like everyone's expecting us to fail, where I feel like with Carlisle and Forest Green, they instantly were like, right, they've just been relegated from League Two. We're going to go back to League Two. And our fans took that for granted as well when we got relegated, where we thought, oh, we're a big club. We're the big boys, even though there was so much trouble still going on off the pitch. A lot of our fans instantly thought, oh, we're too big for this league. I don't know if it's essentially a little bit of that as well. I'm not too sure, but
No,
yeah, I don't want to
What-
say too much because we have them next month, both of them. So I don't want to kind of
No, I
do
get it.
that.
Like,
But yeah,
no one's heard of Luke Garrard. Like, no one outside of the National League's heard of Luke Garrard, and he's doing a fantastic job. Like, it's those managers
him.
that can stay under the radar. Well, yeah, even Jim McNulty,
even Jim
like,
McNulty.
like Stuart Maynard, Notts County fans knew, and
Yeah.
it was like, yeah, he's a decent League Two manager, but it's these managers that like you can just stay under the radar. Andy Butler at Scunthorpe, even their fans weren't massively impressed with him. He's doing a fantastic job. Adam Lakeland, we've spoken about at Halifax. Oh, he was at Kings Lynn. He's got Halifax 7th. Like there's more and more eyes on the National League, and we love how much this league has grown and how people now talk about it. But it's you get too many eyes on you, and it can be a massive detriment rather than a help. When you've got Robbie Savage and Mark Hughes, former Man United, well, they're both former Man United players. That's what the media want to talk about. It's just too much. Like you just want to slip under the radar. It's 46 games. It's an absolute marathon. I think you're absolutely bang on. It's too many eyes. You don't want it at all.
No, it's trouble. We've said it week in, week out, and again, I think I sort of comment on it about the whole, great advert for free up again. This is why it's like the toughest league to get out of, because it doesn't matter how much money you've got. Look at it. Like say, Notts County were, remember, obviously missing out on the title. Were a minute away from losing in the playoffs against Boreham Wood, obviously before they got their equaliser. And you just think like all that hard work and all that money that's been put into all fall, like the last minute, just would have been so unfair and unjustified for them. And that's the thing. You look at this title race. You've got, like I say, 6 points between the top 5 at the moment. I mean, obviously, if you want to include Forest Green in that as well, 7 points. So it just shows that the strength of this league is getting better every year. And I think that's just shown really now for throughout the years. I think as we're getting closer to title races now, most years now, it's not always one run away in that. I mean, Barnet, you can probably have to, maybe it's an exception. But other than that, and maybe Chesterfield. But other than that, it always seems to be fairly close, particularly the last few years anyway. Just for give a quick mention, considering it's the only game we ever mentioned, and it actually the one had the most goals in it as well. But Boston United 3, Southend United 3. I thought just to give it a quick mention. Again, maybe not the best result for Southend in terms of maybe more points they've slipped up a little bit, but look, it's not a bad point away from home, is it, for them? I think that's probably just about where we need to be, really. I mean, I guess in that case, we're all happy then with National League. We're going to the league table, I reckon. So, Sam, for the last time, thank you very much. So we've got top of the table is Morgan's York City with 62 points. Second is our Shah's Rochdale with 61 points. Boreham Wood third with 56 points. Scunthorpe sitting in fourth, also on 56 points. And just below them in fifth on goal difference is Carlisle with 56 points. Forest Green Rovers sixth with 55 points, and FC Halifax Town are seventh with 47 points. In the bottom 4, we have Braintree Town on 25 points. 22nd, we have Truro City on 21 points. 23rd are Morecambe with 21 points, and bottom of the table are Gateshead with 19 points. Sam, thank you very much for putting up with us for the last 2 hours and that. You've been a very patient man there, I have to say. I'll leave you to wrap things up here.
No, thank you very much, mate. I'm very patient. I've been enjoying myself. So I just get to sit back and just listen to you wonderful guys and gals talk about National League North and South. It's all fantastic. So, yeah, thank you for everybody for joining us on tonight's non-league show. If you have enjoyed it, please hit that like button, that subscribe, support the channel. It does mean a great deal to us. And thank you for all your support. But you should support all these people as well, because they're the people with the knowledge and the know-how. And, of course, I'll turn back to our super host who's done a super job in keeping everything on the tracks. He's getting better at this week in, week out. Mr. Ben, where can everybody find you?
I don't know about that, but
you can have this job. I'll sit back then.
No,
I'll run the stream. You can do the talking.
No, we need you, but we need you back, Shah. My reign of terror is just. I'm overstaying my welcome on this now. If you want to find me, it's Ben Stones FC1 on Twitter, and hopefully I won't be moaning about another derby to beat tomorrow. So if you do, please feel free to block me.
Okay, we'll see how that plays out. We've got our fingers crossed for Ben. And Morgan, lovely to have you on as well tonight. Thank you. Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, no worries. Thank you very much for having me, Sam. You can find me on Twitter at @_Morgan_Bruce.
Superb. And of course, the Superman himself, Joe, has been with us as well tonight. Thanks for coming on, Joe. How are you? How are you? We know how you are. Where are you?
Off the Line blog on Twitter. Like Ben, I hope Ben is not talking about a defeat tomorrow. Hopefully he's got a win to talk about. It'd be nice for Ed's feet to come a cropper once in a while. So, hopefully I've also got something good to talk about with my own team. So, good to be on again.
There you go. Fingers crossed, lots of exciting midweek fixtures. And of course, the wonderful Shah back on the non-league screens again. Where can we find you and your new channel as well? Very exciting. Lots going on.
Yeah, so I am Shah XRAFC. That is on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. And my new channel is Ball and All with Shah. That is on YouTube. And it is Ball and All _ on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. And I just want to say thank you as well to each and every person who's actually came in, because I didn't think anybody had joined the stream, honestly. And I did one last night, and it was a solo stream, and people actually came in and were talking to me. I was shocked. So thank you so much. And obviously to Ben as well. He came in my Rochdale Solihull watch along with the amazing Gen 2. But yeah, and thank you again, obviously, to yourself, Sam, yourself, Ben, for doing such an amazing job while I've been absent, and just the whole team for being just incredible. Absolutely smashed it.
No problem at all, Shah. We're always happy to help you.
This is it. You're welcome. It's been nice. I've got to come on the non-league show. I've now got the Grand Slam like you, Charlotte. I think it's only me and you that have done all 4 shows.
Where can everyone find you as well, Sam? You're brilliant content. No one's asked you.
But he's just sitting back while you guys talk about football, having a drink. You can find me at Sam Absolute FBL. I will at some stage get to the YouTube channel. I kind of got to the point of almost posting videos, but just being too busy and then tired in the evenings has been a struggle. But you can mostly catch me, most excitingly, on the Absolute Football Podcast. No, not me. No, there we go. So don't want to look at me. It's awful. Yes, the Absolute Football Podcast, 4 nights a week. Of course, we are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Absolutely non-league show, as you know already, on a Monday in collaboration with NL Full Time. You can catch me tomorrow on the Absolutely Premier League show. Will we be talking about Arsenal, Man United? Yes, we bloody well will be. Yes, we will be. Mateus Cunha, Patrick Dorgu. Dorgy best, I've heard today. I've heard Ballon Dorgu. I'm all over it, so I'm well ready for tomorrow. I think tomorrow we've got Grimmy on. We've got Heather on. She's excited because obviously Bournemouth last-minute winner against Liverpool. And we've got Anton as well, which is always a joy. So lots to chat about tomorrow. On Wednesday is Team Chaos talking absolutely women's football, Women's Super League and WSL 2 as well. Some big results there. Arsenal beating Chelsea in the title race. So lots that they'll be talking. I think they've got a lot of people on, I think, on Wednesday for their opinions. We've got a cast of thousands, so it's going to be a good one on Wednesday. And back on Thursday is the Rowdy Rabble. It is the EFL show, of course, Championship League 1 and League 2. And I think may well be hosting that with the cast. An exciting show for you on Thursday. Got interviews, club episodes, and the usual. Check out the channel if you haven't already. Do, as we said earlier, like and subscribe if you can. Super supports the channel. We're on Twitter, Absolute Ball Pod, YouTube, Absolute Football Podcast, and Twitch, TikTok, Absolute Football Pod, Instagram, Absolute Football Podcast _, Blue Sky, Absolute Football, and Facebook, the Absolute Football Podcast. And there we are. There we are indeed. Thank you as well to everybody else in the chat. It's fantastic you guys coming in, and we're seeing so many people coming in, giving your opinions, your match reports, and everybody chatting as well in there. It's really brilliant, great community. So we thank you all for that. Good luck for your teams. There's the midweek games, as we said. Fingers crossed for you all. Well, as much as we can, because not everyone can win. Particularly if you're playing each other, it's tough. But we wish you all the best anyway. Have a great week. Enjoy the football. We'll catch you on the next one. Ciao for now.